year.
There's a player.
Nice start for them. They started 20-0 for the first time since '76, a team that was picked to finish at the very bottom of the SEC.
Yeah, I think despite what the preseason selections were, there is a lot of newness for this squad. Brand new head coach, brand new staff, 7 transfers, a lot of new ones as far as young faces and freshmen go, and they have, despite the odds, done really well.
Starting lineup for South Carolina, Lilio is going to lead off. Ariana Rhodey is the real power source, though, at number 3. Ready to go with strike 1, delivered from Peyton Burnham, the freshman from Oregon, and we are underway on a picture-perfect night in the Ozarks. Lilio right back up the middle and past to diving Davison into center, and South Carolina is in business here in the first.
A freshman arm. This is a very young staff for Arkansas. 3 freshmen on this pitching staff. We were bound to see a freshman get the start at some point this weekend. Robin Heron, their junior, their ace, had a great outing last night. I think we probably could have drawn a name out of a hat and gotten one of their freshmen in the circle today, and they go to Peyton Burnham. Up in the zone, she's able to also hit low with the knees, but it's the off speed. It's the fact that she can throw a changeup in any count that makes her so effective.
Burnham, the Oregon Gatorade Player of the Year as a junior, and that one is squirted into left for a base hit, and Carly Shelton is on first base. First and second, and nobody out. Great start here for the Gamecocks.
You know, this 1-2 punch is iconic for South Carolina. Quincy Lilio led off with a base hit up the middle. She transferred in from Oklahoma, and then you've got sophomore Carly Shelton right behind her. 15 doubles on the year. These two really pack a punch.
And this is who you want up with runners on base. Ariana Rhodey takes strike 1. Rhodey, one of 6 players to follow their head coach, Ashley Chastain Woodard, coming from Charlotte out of the American Athletic Conference. Now back to her alma mater in her first year at South Carolina. And what a job she has done. I mean, she's been a winner everywhere that she has gone. So it's not at all a surprise to see South Carolina having early success. NCAA tournament the last 2 seasons for the 49ers.
Such a tough kid, has a hockey background. You'll see her on defense over at first base. She wears that face mask, suffered a broken nose this year, and played through it. I just can't even wrap my brain around that.
If that doesn't scream hockey player to you, I don't know what does. 1-2 is right back to Burnham. She's going to go to third and get that out. Over to first, not in time. And I wonder if Burnham had been maybe a little bit quicker, would they have been able to potentially turn that double play? Question is, was McDowell on the bag early enough to receive that? We'll see.
Yeah, Burnham does a good job here of fielding this position. It's a backhand. Does look like McDowell was there in time. This is the urgency of the game, though. Once again, a freshman in the circle. This is a tall order for your first time in a D1 uniform. You're starting just to dip your feet into SEC play. This is the toughest conference in our game, without a doubt.
Lexi Winters also followed Ashley, coming over from Charlotte. Was the starting catcher from day 1, the American Conference Defensive Player of the Year last season. He's already caught 5 at 13 would-be base stealers. This is over to third. This could very well be 2. Third to first, and they turn it 5-3. And that is how Arkansas and Peyton Burnham.
I thought Joy Hurd looked really good last night. She struggled a bit to keep it in the zone before being pulled. Sam Grass coming in behind her, but I think that her spots were good. She challenged both in and out, was able to really attack righties. She is a righty specialist. We saw head coach Chastain tell us just about how she manages this staff. And she mentioned that Jory Hurd is the righty specialist, Sam Gress is the lefty specialist. And in looking at this Arkansas lineup, they're really split between the middle here.
Just off the plate, ball 2.
She's got velo, right? Can touch 70 miles an hour, but really focuses on that glove side. Again, against righties, she's able to run it away outside of that strike zone.
This is going to be a really tough play and absolutely nothing for Shelton. Reagan Johnson puts it on the ground. Good luck finding a way to keep her off of first base.
How do you defend this, right? Speed never sleeps. This is the threat of Johnson in the leadoff. What is a routine ground ball to Shelton, who, by the way, is pinched in to defend this speed and still is unable to make this out in time. 17 stolen bases on the year for Reagan Johnson. I mean, she is a threat on the base paths. If there is a single human I want off first base,
yes,
it is Reagan Johnson.
17 stolen bases, by the way, in 18 attempts. She's only been caught once and now has increased her hit streak to 9 games where she's 16 of 30 in that stretch with 6 multi-hit games. Now it's up to the second Reagan in the lineup, Reagan Kramer.
Notice the defense playing pretty even. Got your middle infield up the middle behind the base paths. They're respecting the pop of Kramer. That middle infield also wanting to give themselves a little bit of space to potentially roll up that double play. Granted, they will have to be perfect with Johnson standing at first base. It will be very hard to roll one up with that type of speed.
Not going, a little excuse me check swing. And there's already some activity in that South Carolina bullpen. Ashley Chastain Woodard is not going to give it too much time. This is not a game that you can give away. It would be a series loss with them losing last night. Over to second, and that one is mishandled by Shelton. And that's the speed of Reagan Johnson. I mean, she forces you to be perfect on the infield.
This is exactly what I'm saying. This is a ball that is just custom fit for a double play. And the mishandling of Shelton, you don't have room to make a single split-second decision with the speed of Reagan Johnson. You have to be perfect on the dirt to roll that up.
Nowhere really to put Bri Ellis either as the senior steps up on her senior night and fouls it away. So back-to-back infield singles for Arkansas. They're going small ball at the top of this lineup to set up Ellis. A career 68 home runs. And the top 5 of active career leaders in homers, RBIs, and total bases.
This is a once-in-a-generation type athlete. That looks like that one potentially hit the arm.
She thought it certainly did, but home plate umpire and crew chief Bobby DeMeo is signaling for her to return to the batter's box. She was adamant that ball hit her.
You know, this is interesting. You do have to tip your cap on the salesmanship here, because for Bri Ellis, finding a way on base is a win. Is a win, is a win, is a win. You can't really skin it any other way. Finding your way on first base is your job. But on the other hand, if I'm Bri Ellis, I want to swing.
And she does, bounces over to short, second one, not in time, no, off the base. Shelton was not on second base, and that's a big mistake there by South Carolina with McDowell coming up, bases loaded and nobody out.
Let's get another look at this. It appears that the throw was there on time.
Just
but upon
foot wasn't on the base.
Further look, yeah, no foot on the base.
Oh yeah, and that should go down as a fielder's choice, and it does. But what's important now for Arkansas is that the bases are loaded. There's nobody out, and you've got someone in Ella McDowell, the D1 Softball National Player of the Week. You want to listen to what kind of streak she's on? A 7-game hit streak. In that stretch, she's 17 of 26. A double, 2 homers, and 16 runs driven in. 6 straight multi-hit games for Ella McDowell, and this has to be the last place South Carolina fans were hoping that they would see their team in the bottom of the first inning tonight. Infield pinched in now for South Carolina as McDowell takes upstairs.
Yeah, Dowell was the freshman yesterday that had that bases clearing double that really turned this game around for Arkansas. She was the one that kicked the floodgates open for the Razorbacks. There's something so athletic about her approach in the box, the swing that she takes. When you just watch her demeanor on the field, there's nothing about her that reads youth. There's nothing about her that reads freshman.
She has a lot of high-level experience, too.
I think there's a lot of crossover with the senior, Bree Ellis. Again, it's her senior night tonight. Ella McDowell, a freshman. They grew up, both of them, in the same area, and Bree was an idol of McDowell. I mean, this was a young woman that looked up to Bree Ellis. Very similar mindsets, just competitors, hard outs, and in talking to Courtney Deifel, she said Bree has really helped Ella handle the emotions of this game.
3-1 pitch. That'll find the plate, and the count runs full.
Let's see where this pitch is. Her trying. And I agree with that call.
Good
right
pitch.
At the top of the knees. Yeah, it's a great pitch.
3-2. Do it again.
Same location. I think those types of competitive placements is where her just wasn't locating last night. A little bit too wide. The misses weren't competitive enough.
That'll bring in a run. Arkansas can send it over the wall, and they can also play small ball. That's why they've been so dangerous this season. And 25-4 this year when scoring first.
Yeah, it's interesting just looking at my line here. Only one error on the board, but honestly, that ground ball from Kramer, a missed opportunity up the middle of the field to get that lead out at second base. It's noted as a single, but to me, that play's got to be made. That keeps Johnson out of scoring position and potentially a run off the board here.
There's the Texas transfer, Courtney Day, with a chance to blow this game open early on. Great to see her back in the lineup yesterday. Returned after missing 3 games with a leg injury. Didn't even really know when she got hurt in that Florida series, but couldn't put any weight on her leg on Saturday. They sent her home. She got in to see the doctor on Monday and has just been feeling so much better. Back in the lineup last night, and here, as that one is sent out down the left field line and foul. But that's a big part of this Arkansas team. McDowell and Courtney Day to follow up Ellis and provide that protection for one of the best hitters in the country.
Trying to see here if this was an off speed. It is. That is a changeup out of the back of the hand of Hurd. You heard that off the end of the bat of Courtney Day. Just trying to time up that pitch.
And 1-2 is in there. Big out there for Hurd.
You know, we saw this yesterday from Courtney. She struck out looking her first at bat against Hurd. So she swings at the changeup, fouls it off, and then takes one hard on the inside corner. To me, just getting her game plan crossed up, not trusting her pitch selection.
So here's Kaylee Wyckoff with 1 out and the base is still loaded. Takes outside. Another outstanding transfer here for Arkansas. Not only Courtney Day, but Wyckoff coming over from Texas Tech, and then Carly Davison, the second baseman from Utah. All 3 making huge impacts. 1-1 after the check. Wyckoff, the freshman of the year in the Big 12 in 2023, all Big 12 first team last year. Went golfing for it there. I know it's Masters Saturday, but 1 and 2 here on Wyckoff.
3.000 hả? Lên 7.000 đã.
Tay giáp final cơ. Tay giáp cái net final á.
Lên 7.000.
Đến là ít nhất là 6.000 ạ. Nếu mà hiện ngoài.
And already Aaron making Jory Hurd in the circle work really hard in this first inning. She's almost thrown 30 pitches.
You know, well, we mentioned the righty specialist nature of Hurd. Well,
Floated left field line.
the 2 base hits she gives up, lefties. You almost saw that one go down against Wyckoff. Well, guess what? She's a lefty.
Yeah.
So, you know, there is something to this. There is a matchup nature about South Carolina's pitching staff. And head coach Chastain was very honest about that.
And Rijo is a lefty in the box as well. 2-2, bouncer up the middle, second, 1, first, not in time. Another run scores, and Ellis is going to cross the plate on the throwing error. Well, this is a South Carolina team that is 3rd in the country, fielding 984. They've already made 2 errors.
Up these types of freebies to a team like Arkansas. These are routine plays that have to be made.
A rivalry
South Carolina
renewed
knows
for the
this.
33rd consecutive season.
Competitive.
We welcome you to Easton Stadium here in Los Angeles as the Washington
Rijo
Huskies
flies it down the
and the
right field
8th-ranked
line,
UCLA
long run,
Bruins
and a
reunite
basket
for the
catch
first
on a
time as
bobble,
members of
hauled
the
in
Big
by
Ten.
Knight.
And a look
An
at the
eventful way to
standings
bring
with
this
two
bottom of the
top
first
4
inning
teams in
to a
action
close.
tonight.
But
Is the Big Ten
Arkansas
or the
strikes
Pac-12?
first.
A lot of familiarity.
He knows walk, she
Each
knows
trying to
that
become masters
she's gonna get
of
pitched
this
around,
new
and she's not
domain.
chasing
And I don't know
pitches out
about
of
you,
the zone.
Charlize, but it's looked like a pretty seamless transition so far.
Yeah, it's a familiar matchup for both of these teams.
A ball and a
they're
strike
all
with 1
firing
out
on
on
all
Brooke
cylinders, and I'm
Blankenship.
excited to see
She'll
them
nub
face
that
off
one
tonight.
off the end of the
It's
bat.
been the
Davison
Megan
underhand
Grant
flip,
show
and there's
for
Ellis
UCLA,
for
cooking
out
up
number
2
2.
grand slams in this past week.
How about
She's
the
been an
RBIs
unstoppable
too?
force.
47
Like you said, Jonah,
RBIs
Chef Megan
last
has been
season.
cooking with
She's
gas
already
and
up
ready
to
to tack on more
59
home runs
this
to
year.
her total.
On the other side, the
One of the
freshman
questions I had for
Ward
Courtney
has been
Deifel
leading the
is just
Huskies
how does
in
an
numerous
athlete like
offensive
this, and
categories,
knowing
powering this
what
surge.
Making
this
a
moment
huge
is
impact
for
as
her,
a freshman, she's
senior
going to lead them in
season,
today's game.
she's playing just out of her mind. How do you do it?
Long run.
So both of these
Just
two
a look
teams
at the
again
end for
coming
Kramer.
in with
It was an
incredible
easy
marks
answer for Courtney
entering
Deifel. She
tonight.
said this
Washington's
is
only lost 2
such a
games
cerebral
since
athlete.
February
She's very
21st.
disciplined,
As we
very
take a look
aggressive,
at
but
their
she is
starting lineup, throwing out the
unbelievably
same starting
committed to
9
staying
for the
present
second
this
straight
season.
game.
She is
David
gonna
Carroll
make
at the
the
top
most
of the leaderboard.
of
We
this
talked
year.
about Alexis DeBoer just a couple
And
moments
she certainly
ago.
has. I mean,
Doing
she's made
all
the most
this
of
as a
every college
freshman,
season, though.
which is
The
so
consistency is
impressive.
what's most impressive, I
And
think,
she was
because
really
when
big
you look at
part
someone,
of
yeah,
this Washington
sometimes
team
they
against
have a great
Wisconsin,
finish to their
not mention
career, or they
Giselle
start well and then
Alvarez
trail off. I
hit
mean,
a clutch
Brie Ellis has
2-run
blasted
home
at
run
least
in Game
14
3 against
homers
Wisconsin to tie
every
up the
college
game.
season
Sophie
on
Mazzola,
2
Riley
different
Peshek,
SEC teams.
and Jade Bubke at the bottom of the lineup. She's going to have to
The efficiency
take on
is really
Addison
what Courtney
Fisher
Deifel lauded.
and this
Never
UCLA
seen her
defense
be this
coming
efficient,
in.
can hit any
The
pitch in any
37-5
situation.
Mark. As we
Anywhere
take
in
a
the
look
zone,
at the defensive
honestly.
layout
I mean,
for
we've seen her
UCLA,
take pitches
number 2 in the country
completely
in fielding
outside the
percentage.
zone,
Sophia
not even in the
Mojica
river,
back
but in
the
the other
starting
battered
defensive
spots.
lineup for UCLA behind
And leave the yard.
replacing Maggie
Yeah,
Daniel.
that's
Those
a
two
mark of an
flip-flop depending
extraordinary
on the
hitter
night.
in
Caitlin
my
Terry
mind.
getting the night off in the circle.
Knight
but
swings
she's
through
getting
it.
the starting
Tipped
nod
right back
over
into the
in
glove
right, coming off
of
a
the
grand
catcher
slam
Miller.
in her last
And it is
home
a
game
10-pitch,
here
1-2-3 inning
at
for
East Time.
Off the rubber.
The UCLA freshman has won 11 or more games before drawing their first loss. Was Caitlin Terry, who just did it last year, beginning
Up ball
her
spin. She's going
freshman
to challenge
campaign at 12
with the
and
rise ball,
0.
climbs
Got
the
a chance,
ladder, especially
Charlize,
late
to
in
talk
counts.
with Addison Fisher pregame. She possesses so much
Over to
confidence,
first.
so much belief in
Oh,
herself.
humpback liner
It's
handled by
translated
Rhodey.
throughout this entire year.
and she's learning about this rivalry that's reawakening now in the Big
So
Ten.
already a much better
These two
start
teams have
for
faced each other
South
so many
Carolina in
times.
this
As I walked
bottom
into
of the second
ballpark,
inning
it felt
than
so
the first.
familiar. It felt like this is always happening, and
Yeah,
this
Neely
is
Lamb is
something that we're used
really
to.
a
But
huge
they've also
presence,
faced each other in
5'11"
such
in
big
the
games as
circle, and
well,
you can
so
see
it's
when she
inevitable to have
lands,
such a thick
her
rivalry
foot
like
is
these two teams
just
have.
about at the edge of
And
that
they're
white
always
circle.
in the postseason.
Yeah, it's
run, and
interesting
they're
when you have a
teams that are
pitcher that
always
has these, long
to look out
levers,
for
long
at the
legs,
end of the
long
year.
arms.
So this is going to be a fun
Sometimes
matchup.
the
and it's
mile
gonna be
per
a
hour
really
can
good
be
time for
deceptive
Addison
because,
Fisher to
yeah,
show what
maybe
she's
it's
got against a team
67,
that's
68
swinging
miles
the
an
ball,
hour, but
hitting the bat well.
when you're leaping, I don't know,
David
4
Carroll
feet,
to
5
lead
feet off
things
the
off
rubber,
for Washington,
it's gonna
and
get
the
on your hands
Huskies
quick.
offense.
Opposite way, just
29-9 record. And she takes ball one.
Well, and she's not
to
delivering
begin
it
game
from the
one
rubber
of this
either. She's a
three-game
few
series.
feet in
Megan
front of the
Rabin,
rubber
the home plate
by the
umpire,
time
John
that ball
Baca
lets
at
loose.
first, and Christina Drum, the officiating crew for this weekend.
Definitely imposing. Anything that you would make an adjustment as a hitter with
Sid
one of these
Fisher
bigger pitchers?
is able to induce a strike.
maybe a
or
little
to
bit more
swing
athletic,
around as we
choking
take
up
a
on the
look
bat of hair, getting lower in the
at
stance.
The stats for Ava
Anything that's going to
Carroll,
allow you to take a
381
shorter and more
on the
urgent
season.
swing
One
to
of
the ball.
Promising sophomores in a young class for Washington. This is a really young team. They rely so heavily on their
You think that
freshmen
she's
and
tall,
sophomore
and then
classes, but
You
on
think
a
about
4-game
Tennessee's
hit
Carlin
streak.
Pickens, who's coming at you at
He's been setting
6'1",
the tone.
throwing
This
78
Washington
miles an
offense at
hour.
the top of the lineup.
I don't even know how anybody hits that.
Flips it foul, 2 balls, 2
I had a
strikes.
chance to see Carlin Pickens live in person last weekend.
Fisher
I
last
called the
started
Tennessee-Mississippi State
against
matchup.
California
And
Baptist. It was
speaking
a
of that
short
record,
stint. It was 2
78.2
innings.
miles an hour from
Gave up
Carlin
1
Pickens,
hit,
breaks the
1
NCAA
strikeout
record for fastest
in just
pitch.
24
And guess who she
pitches.
threw that pitch
Just
against?
trying to warm
it was
up for this
Arkansas,
weekend.
back in
And
mid-March.
she just misses.
2-2 bouncer,
Outer part of
right
the zone.
side.
Some
Nice
groans
diving
from the
stop by
fans.
Shelton,
Good
but all she
showing
can
here
do
today
is snare it.
Between these
Kennedy
two
Miller
familiar
is on.
foes.
Nice for her, too, because she's been going through a rough stretch at the plate.
Yeah, Miller has really been
Drifts
trying to
outside
figure
and
some
a
things out
leadoff
at the
walk
plate in the 9-hole.
for
The
Ava
job
Carroll.
is
Good
to be a
start for
tough
the
out
Huskies
to turn
to
over
begin
this
this
lineup back
contest.
to the speedster Reagan Johnson. She finds a way to get it done here.
Talked about Charlize, the
3-4
familiarity
hole,
between these
ground
two
ball.
programs.
It's a good diving effort by Shelton at
You were
second base.
On
Back to
that
the top of
diamond
the order
last
is
year, they were still
Johnson.
members of the Pac-12.
Pulls the
Now
butt
they're
back.
members of the Big Ten.
And Miller with her first
Still
hit of the series, and
Taking
she's
some
on
time
first
for that to
base.
settle in.
In the series, we're always
Johnson with that
jam-packed a lot
infield
of
single
action.
in the
There was a
first. She
ton of
came
home runs.
around
They
to
always
score the
had
first
power
run
hitters on their team.
of the ball game.
They have a lot of speed. They always have
Over to
great
first.
pitching
That
on-
is, I
on the
guess,
mound.
how
so there's
you
something
get
a
Johnson
little
out. You
extra
have
that
him
you have to
right at the
prepare for
first
when you're
baseman, and
preparing
all Rhodey
against
has to do
Washington.
is
Like I
touch up
said,
for
both
out
of these
number
teams
2.
are postseason contending teams.
Has a chance to make the tag and does. Mujica to Bragg. And Kanaya
So Neely
gets
Lamb
the
definitely
last
seems
laugh.
to have settled
She
down
knocks
this South
out Carroll
Carolina team.
to collect the first out. Now I do
They
think
made
they
2
will look at
errors
this
in the
one
first
more
inning.
time, but the call
Just their
on
third
the
game
field
all
was
season
out.
with 2 or more errors.
That was a dime, and it
They've
looked
made
off
26
first glance
or
like
played
Bragg
26
was
games,
able to
that
lay
is.
the tag
Not making
in
a
time.
single error.
But again, they
26
will
of their 41.
convene.
One of the best
and
fielding
discuss
teams
it.
in the entire
That's
country,
the
but
area,
Arkansas is even
Charlize,
better.
of Sophia Mujica's
Nobody
game
is
on the
better than
defensive
them
end
in
where
the
she's been
entire
trying to
country.
grow.
And she hasn't really had the type of repetition that I think she's wanted to have to get her comfortable behind there. But what a great way to start your first series against Washington, to throw out a runner. And honestly, in my opinion, get her out
Arkansas
by a
looking to
few
win this
feet.
series
It
here
seemed
at
like I
home.
wonder if they're looking at
They've
the
won 9 of the last
obstruction
10
of
games in the last
Kanaya's
4
foot, or maybe
series
seeing if she was
against
able to
South
swim around
Carolina,
it.
but the
So maybe
Gamecocks have
that's
won their
what
last
they'll
3
talk about, but
conference series.
Sophia
It's got to
Mojica
give.
getting
That's
the
ripped
start
down the
today
right field
on
line.
Friday was able to
Here
just turn the
comes
mark
Miller,
at the beginning of
in
the
without a throw.
Over to talk
4-0
to
Arkansas.
Kelly Perez, disseminating the information.
Back to the importance of Kennedy Miller in that 9-hole. Finding a way to turn this lineup over gives way for Reagan Kramer to do what she
They are going
does
to
best.
overturn the
She's
call.
a gap-to-gap hitter. She's
So,
pulling it to her
Ava
power
Carroll
alley
is
side,
ruled
down
safe.
that
A
right field line, and that's going to get
successfully
another RBI for
base
Arkansas.
for Washington, sets them up in early scoring position.
And it brings up
with
Bree
nobody
Ellis.
away.
Fielder's
As
choice her
now
first
the
time up.
infield is having a word.
Came
with
around to
Megan
score the
Rabin
final
as
run of
well.
that 3-run first for Arkansas, and still threatening here with 2 outs.
John Baca
And
is heading
Kramer on
over
first.
to take a look at the VAR. There's one more look.
I mean, where do you even go? Where do you
Question is, did she
go
get
as a
that
pitcher,
right
as a
hand
pitching coach, when you're
underneath
facing
before the
a
tag
bat
was
like
made?
this?
There needed to be
We talked about her
indisputable evidence
range.
to overturn the call.
She's not waiting on
Umpires
something
believed
just
that
within the
there
textbook
was.
strike zone.
And the umpire made a signal
That
for
one was
obstruction call with his
bounced
hands,
well in
so
front of the plate.
I'm
That was like a
guessing that's what they're
38-footer
trying to
from
look at
Lamb.
with
Had a
Harris'
chance
feet,
to watch their
seeing if
Florida
her foot was in the
series
base path when she's
in
receiving it.
Gainesville, and there was a ball she took opposite field yard that I swear was 2.5 balls off the plate.
Yep.
Yeah,
From
that
the
foot
wide
landing-
angle.
And now it's 3-0 against
that
her.
foot landing is in the base path of the runner.
And they're just going to put her on.
You could argue that.
All right, so
when she caught
now-
the ball, her foot still wasn't down.
In her last
So
now
she's not in the
3
base path,
SEC
per
games, that
se.
is her 5th intentional walk.
So you're saying that if Kanaya Bragg's
I mean,
left foot was
in a
little
lot of
bit
ways, just with the way
inward
she
and allowed
impacted,
for that base path
she's
running
impacting the
opportunity,
game, and the way he impacted the game, she's
that
almost like
it would have
a
been
Barry
an easier
Bonds type
decision to
character.
make.
Like they just will not pitch
I
to
think
her.
it would have been an out call just because in that instance the runner did have to
The
kind of
impressive
deviate
thing
and go
is
around the
how
tag.
McDowell is handling this in front of her. The
So, yeah, I
protection
think
that
they
this
are looking for
freshman
her foot placement.
is providing to the senior. McDowell in the 4-hole
You don't usually see this
knows
from
that
the
there will
shortstop
probably
position.
not be a lot of pitches thrown to Brie Ellis. Well, guess who will likely get those pitches? It's Ella.
Yeah, I assume
And nobody's
that's what
got to
they're
like
looking
that
at,
more.
and that
I'd imagine
strong
that's a
argument
spot,
can be
Aaron,
made
you would
for
have relied.
Oh
either
man,
side.
you salivate
Just
over
depending
that.
on
It's a pride thing
Yes.
at that
Certain
moment.
things that-
Okay,
that
you don't
foot
want to
was
pitch to
down.
her. Well, I dare you to
in the
pitch to me.
position to deviate the runner.
And it's not like
Great
Ella
point
hasn't
to bring
had
up,
an
and
incredible season.
John Baca, he has
Really
seen
good off speed
enough
from
to
Neely
slow
Lamb.
down
That will be the difference
ruling,
maker, I
and
believe, against the Razorbacks.
Don't
You
want to
have
over-exaggerate
to
here,
switch
but this is a
speeds.
big call. I
You
know
have
it's
to
early in
keep
the
them
game,
off
but
balance.
The way that these two pitching staffs have performed this year,
0-2. Over to short charging. Blankenship over to
and
first.
they
in
say
time.
there was no obstruction.
So
and
just the
call
single run comes through on
stands.
the RBI knock from Reagan Kramer, but Arkansas
today, April
extends
1st
its
or April
lead
11th.
here.
That'll be all of the starting
Here's
nods
Emma
behind
Sellers,
home plate in
first
this
at
series
bat
for Washington.
of the
No
weekend.
Tia
Natalie Heath
Durst
started at the
is under the
designated
weather,
player
didn't
spot
travel with the team
in last night's
to
ball
Los
game.
Angeles.
8-9-1 coming up for the Gamecocks. Sellers, Vincent,
Slicing
and
foul
Lilio.
down the first base side. 2 balls, 1 strike.
High pop, and the little Texas
You know
leaguer
that call
dunks in
has
behind
to
Rijo.
settle down Addison Fisher a little bit too. You go from a runner in scoring
So
position
Sellers
with
is on
nobody
to
out.
lead off.
The base is being
Lilio
cleared,
got
you can
on
just
with
go
a
to
single
work.
in the first as well, but
She's
that was an
evened up
inning
count
that the
to 2
Gamecocks
apiece.
had
And
chances.
that's 101 of having a battery.
But ended up grounding
she
into a
walked the batter,
5-3 double
and
play
Sophia Mojica
off the
was
bat of
able to
Lexi
pick it up
Winters
and
to end that
deliver
threat.
it out, even though Addison
This is
Fisher
in the
got a
hole
walk,
once
but
again.
she
Rio's
was
going to go
able
to
clean up
second.
that runner
It's not
for
in
her, and now
time.
They're 2 away.
Here come the
The
Gamecocks in
rise
the
ball
third.
missed upstairs, had that free pitch.
Looks like Rijo at
Full
shortstop
count.
gets caught back on the heels. Notice that she's not able to continue to move through this ball. Has to make a sliding effort into the
Judgment
5-6 hole.
pitch, slapped
And
right
still
back
makes
up
the choice
middle,
to try and
a
get that
two-out
fielder's
single
choice at second base.
for Glab
Love the
and the
aggressiveness,
Huskies.
but knowing your speed of Sellers.
So read that
They're going to
well.
bunt over to third, handled, and there's
Jaden Glab,
McDowell
it's
to
now a
Ellis.
hit in
Rather to
15 of her
second
last
baseman
17.
Davison covering for out number 1, but a very good sacrifice there as it goes down 5-4. So just like Arkansas
Alicia
did in that
Flores
first
stepping
inning,
in
playing a
for her
little small
first
ball
at-bat.
here
Fisher's been
for
pretty
South
efficient
Carolina,
with her pitch
looking to
count.
get their first runs.
Still under 20 so far in this first inning. As you take a
Over
look
to
at the
second, Davison only
25
play
runs
is to
driven
first.
in.
And South Carolina's going to be
Alicia
on the board with the
Flores.
RBI ground out.
Looper, that's going to get down for an infield single. A chance
Yeah, that's
for
some
Bragg.
high
Can't
IQ
make the
hitting
play.
from Shelton. If there's one
it's
side of this
back-to-back
field
base
that you want to
hits
focus on,
for Washington.
specifically with a couple runners in scoring position,
a
it's
tough
pull
play,
side.
just
You want to stay on the right side of the
Fister
field.
right behind Addison Fisher.
For that
no one
reason,
could really
I mean,
get
you
to
just
it.
saw
Kanaya
it.
did
That's
a really
an
good job of
easy
charging
ground
it
ball
and
in
trying
the
to get to
3-4
it,
hole,
but there really
and it's
just wasn't
enough to
any
give
play
way
right there.
for Emma Sellers
And Fisher's a ground
to find her way at home
pitcher,
plate.
So she
And exactly what South Carolina
induced
needed to
just
just
the
cut into
kind
this
of connection that
advantage
she
for
was hoping
Arkansas
for.
any way they could. They're going to do it again as that ball skirts
Just managed
past
to find a
Winters.
soft spot in the infield.
Check that, Miller
Giselle Alvarez, an
on
explosive
what
lefty
looked
hitter.
for sure like a wild pitch there from Burnham.
Flies one foul again in game
You
3
can see
against
just right between the
Wisconsin.
wickets. She tries to drop the knees
Delivered
down
that
to block this
game-tying
pitch, and it finds its way
two-run
through.
home run.
Some fun late night action right there. She was able to get
Yeah.
some late
2-0
game
on
action.
Rhodey and a big cut and a miss. So South Carolina's all of a sudden cut this deficit in
One
half.
from Fisher. Got the weakly hit ball, and that's going to be interference.
And, you know, that is honestly
on
kind of what
Alicia
South Carolina
Flores.
has done
Savannah Pola
all year long.
was loading
Ripped
up to make
into the
play.
gap. That's
So
going to
it
get
keeps
down and head
at
to the
least
wall.
one runner
Rhodey going for
stranded.
second. Johnson's
Defense
throw
works out of the
keeps
hole.
her
Bottom
at
of the
first.
Up next.
A long single for Rhodey.
For starters, it's coast to coast. 18 of the country's most
You've got Reagan
iconic
Johnson in
universities.
center
It's
field.
110,000
We've talked about her
people
speed
circling
all
the
game.
lineup.
Look where she's
Jump
playing.
around, jump around, and
She
the
is
biggest
shaded
bass drum on
to
earth.
right
It's a
side.
statement
She's in right center field, which gives her, I don't know, maybe 50 yards less. Excuse me, 50 feet less of that coverage. Potentially, if she's playing straight up center, she's able to keep that ball a little bit off the wall regardless. It's a single. She didn't give up 2 bases.
No, and they'll take that. With 2 outs, and now here's Winters. Into right field, a base hit. But now it's first and second and not first and third.
I'm ready. Fight on. What's up, baby?
Something is changing for South Carolina here. They're seeing Burnham in a different way, or having a bit of a different approach at the plate, sitting on a different pitch.
Much more competitive than
Yeah,
that here in the third.
this is solid contact, line drives. They're getting on top of that ball and able
So after the
to
defense
swing
made
down
enough
plane
plays
to
in the
create
top
some
half,
backspin.
you get to see how explosive
McKnight
this
is going to
UCLA
come in
offense is. Jessica
and pinch
Clemens
run.
back in the starting lineup. Again, got the respite against California Baptist
So,
University back in the
South
starting
Carolina's kind of
lineup
showing
for
you again
UCLA.
what
Savannah Pola and
they
Jordan
have
Woolery
really been instilled
batting
with
over
by Ashley
400 this season.
Chastain
Savannah
Woodard. They have a
Pola is
whole
top 5
system,
in the nation
competitive
in
plate
hits with
appearances
63.
that, Aaron, they track
Obviously,
every
the Bruin
single
Bombers,
game.
as they
A lot of
say,
ways you can get a
Jordan Woolery,
CPA.
Megan Grant.
CPA, right? That's
They've
the
been
term.
terrific already.
It's also tax season, as you said earlier.
It is.
4 home
Don't
runs
remind me.
combined
Take the
between
list
two
here,
of them.
though.
Riley
Hard
Slim,
hit, over
third
65 mile an
highest
hour
batting
exit
average
speed,
amongst freshmen
advancing
in
a
the
runner
Big
into
Ten
scoring
this
position
year.
with
Kanaya
2
Bragg
outs
at
on the board,
346. That's
executing an
6
action
players
play,
in
meaning
the
a hit
starting
and run,
lineup for
bunt and
UCLA
run,
batting
squeeze
over
play,
300, and
having a
doesn't
long
get
at
much
bat. There's a
easier.
lot
Caitlin
of
Terry at
ways
the
that
bottom
you can
of
snag
the lineup just hit her first career
a competitive
grand
plate
slam in the
appearance.
Bruins'
And
last
we have
home
seen a
game
lot of those just
against
here in the third
Ohio
inning.
State in the series. In game 1,
I love the
as
way
Clemens
that you put
takes
it.
the ball
It's the game with
to
him.
begin the bottom of the first for UCLA. Taking on Sophia Ramuno.
Had
One is
something a
laid
little bit
down.
like
She's
that
got
when
a
I
chance
played
to
at
beat out a
Oklahoma. It
potential
wasn't a
throw.
whole running
The throw
list
is not
of
made by
CPAs,
Alvarez. And an
but
infield bunt
we would
single
track hard
for Clemens.
hits. And Coach Gasso would either give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
She did a
and
really
you would
great
track
job
how
of
many
reading
hard
defense
hits can
right
we
there.
get into
The
a game.
defense
They
was
didn't have
back.
to be
She
safe.
saw everyone was shifted,
It
thinking
could
that she
result
was
in
going
an
to swing
out,
away.
but
She does
had to
normally
be a
swing
hard
away in
ball
her
in
first
play.
at bat.
McDowell's
Laid
going
it
to get
down,
that
switching it
final
up,
out
and
over to Ella
able to just
Chansey.
set the table
And
for
that'll
them.
do it in the third. Not before South Carolina gets a couple. We got ourselves a ball game in Fayetteville.
As I mentioned, highest
You
batting
know, I had
average
asked her
on this
10 years
UCLA
here
team.
in
17
Fayetteville.
home runs, somehow
What does this team
overshadowed by
have
the 18 from
that
her
your
teammate
previous
in the on-deck
teams
circle, Megan
haven't? She
Grant.
said, well,
As Woolery takes a
all of
strike,
my teams
1-1.
compete. All of them want to be good,
So
but there's a
humble,
different edge to this
so
squad this
modest,
season. They want to be coached
Yet a
hard.
fierce competitor
Good is
in
not
the batter's
enough
box,
for them.
having a career season.
And it seems like
Well,
in
jam
any
job
place
over
other
to
than the batter's
Chansey
box,
for
she's
out
always
number
smiling
1.
too.
There's
You
this
always see her
hunger to be
goofing off,
elite. There's this full
smiling with her
commitment to
teammates,
whatever it's going to
just
take for this
always
team
flashing that smile outside
reach
of
the
the batter's
top,
box. Even
to be
sometimes
as good
in the
as they
batter's box if
possibly
something
can
happens,
be.
but you see that fierce look from her
Something
all the
that
time.
is most interesting with this Arkansas team is the fight that they
Takes the
continue
entire
to
way.
show.
Drifts high, 3 balls,
They
1
handle
strike.
and work through that consistency you have to
It
be
takes
a great team at this
pleasure
level.
in seeing her
And
teammates succeed,
It was no
such
more
a
on
rare
display
quality
than that
amongst
series
star
win
players
over
and
Florida last weekend, where
she influences the first
it was
visit
the highest
into
ranked
the
series
circle
win in
between
program
Jaden
history.
Glab
They were number 2 in
and
the
Sophia
country, and they
Ramuno,
go to
who appeared in
Gainesville,
all 3
and they
games
bounce back
against
from a
Wisconsin.
walk-off with just a massive
Swept
win
the Badgers
on Sunday. And
in
it
Seattle.
was so impressive because
a lot
it's just
of
not a
late
series
game
you
heroics
expect
in
any team
that
to go in
series,
and
too,
win.
From a couple
But
of different
they
players as
outscore the
well.
Gators
There was
on their home
some
field.
pinch hit home runs in that series. It was
20-16.
pretty exciting. It felt a lot like you were watching the Pac-12
1 and 2
trying
now
to
on
dominate
Wyckoff.
again.
And it's fitting that we're in Los Angeles.
And
Just
Florida
a few
has
miles
been
away
just
from
fine
Hollywood, and
this
the
weekend,
script
winning
is
the
set
first
up
2 games against
for
Ole
Megan
Miss.
Grant, coming off
So
a
I don't think
week
we
in
have to
which
worry
she
about the
blasted
Gators.
2
No bounce back.
Grand slams. We
Well,
saw
she
a walk-off
continues,
grand
Courtney
slam against
Deifel, to
Ohio
add a
State
staff
in
around her
Game
of
1
excellence.
to invoke the mercy
DJ
rule.
Gasso
We
in
saw
his
another
second
grand
year
slam
as
against
assistant coach,
California
hitting
Baptist,
specialist
5
here
now
at
in her
Arkansas.
career. And she's staring at a
I'm
bases
sure you all know
loaded
the name.
situation here
Gasso
in the
comes from a
first
long
with nobody
lineage
out.
of
And I
legends
asked Megan
within
Grant
our
during
sport.
practice this week, I was
But he
asking her,
spent
"What
some
is
time
making
at
you
Utah.
see the ball
What he
so
was
well?"
able to
And she
do
goes, with some swag, she's
for
like,
the
"I'm
youths
just
at
doing me.
Utah took them
I'm
to
just
their
doing me, and I'm
first
seeing the ball,
ever
not thinking
super
too much."
regional
And I was like,
appearance.
"That's-
Hosted,
That's a spot
ended up
as a
beating
hitter
San Diego
that
State
you
to
want
go
to
to
live
their
at.
first
That's a spot
ever
where you're
Women's
able to
College
just
World
see a ball
Series.
like a
Then
beach
makes
ball
his way here
and hit
to
anything
Fayetteville.
and everything. She's just so locked in right now, and she's feeling her swing. And like you said, it's
Do another
the drama
2-2
is
to
starting
Wyckoff.
early for Megan Grant right now with the bases loaded.
Also worked with a very
Led
talented
UCLA
young
to a
player at
4-0
Utah.
week last week,
Carly
just named
Davison.
National Player of the Week, first time.
Now a chance to
in
do
her
the
career.
exact same. Courtney told us that they just get along really well. They know each other. They know how they
Surprising
work.
that's
They know
only
their
her first award.
styles. It's been a
I think
big help.
The type of years that she's put up, I'm surprised to hear when I saw it
I
announced.
had asked Courtney
that was just her
Deifel
first
about
award
what
of
she's seen
Player
just
of the
from
Week.
DJ in his second season at Arkansas that
2 got her to pop it up. but
really
into
feels
foul
like he's been able
territory.
to settle in, kind of recline into who he is as a coach. This team really trusts and has bought into his
Went
style,
8 for
his
11 last
offensive
week,
mind.
2 home runs, both grand slams, 9
He would probably
runs
get
driven
mad at me
in,
for saying this, but
and a
he and
1.45
JT,
slug
his older
percentage.
brother, who is at the University of Oklahoma,
Grant
also
sends one
at the
deep
helm of
into
the-
left
one of the greatest
center.
offenses
It's
in
a
the nation
Grant
at Oklahoma.
slam.
There's a lot of similarities. Their approach to the game, their problem
She does it
solvers. They both
again.
approach hitting in the same way.
Serving up a 3-star Michelin
They have their
dish.
differences,
Here
for
in
sure.
the first.
But they both are masterful minds of hitting within our game.
You had to see that coming. You had to
Payoff
see that
pitch to
coming. With the
Wyckoff
bases
again
loaded, she
into the
has been
gap.
seeing the ball
In left
so
center,
well.
down, and it
you
hits
just see
off
her
of the
land
wall.
and get her hands to the
Lilio
top of the
gets it in
zone there.
quickly, but
Coach
not
Lisa's
before
scream
Wyckoff is in there with a
sending
one-out
me.
double.
I love that. Coach Lisa and her just have such a
What
great
a
friendship
battle
as well, that they
by
always
Wyckoff.
do
With
extra
2
reps at
strikes,
the
she's able to
end of
foul off,
practice,
foul
and
off,
it's
foul
paying
off, and
right here. Coach
finally,
Lisa's able to see her
this
reap
ball is
the
a
benefits of
drop
all her
ball
hard
on the
work.
outer half of the zone. She
The
doesn't
most
overswing.
lethal
She doesn't
bat
roll
in the
over this pitch.
country
She sees where it's
at the
thrown
moment,
and takes it
backs
exactly
it up
to
in
that
style,
location.
A bases
Left center gap and
mash
finds herself a double here.
to blow open
Came
this
on the
game.
10th pitch of the at-bat. And now
As
here
Riley
is
Slim
Atalia
now
Rijo.
steps in, and you could not have
Fly out to right field her
drawn
first
it
time
up
up.
any
She'll
better
offer it the first
if you're
one.
UCLA.
And that's the issue that happens if you let a base hit, let a bunt, give a walk. That's what happens with this Bruin offense. We've seen it so many
Arkansas
times.
has very
here at
quickly
home.
also
It just
built
always
one of
draws
the
up
best
same. Just
environments
Clements will get on or
for
get
college
walked.
softball. I mean,
Nick Savvy
we
Cole
have
will do the same, get a
seen
punt
it at the
on,
highest
hit a
level
double,
around the
or get
country.
walked, and then it just becomes this.
And there are a lot
massacre
of great
4 runs put
SEC
up on the board very
venues that
quickly.
support their
6th
teams.
career Grand
It has
Slam,
so
third of
quickly
the
become
season and the
one of the
third in
Arkansas
the last
staple
week.
sports, along with football,
Slim takes the
baseball,
changeup for
basketball, which John
strike 2.
Calipari did this year in the NCAA tournament, kind of shocking everyone with that big win over St.
Just
John's.
sent shock
But
waves.
this has always
This
been a
Washington
tremendous
Huskies
park, and now it's
infield
full
out is Sophia
almost
Ramuno.
every single time
This Huskies
that they
team
suit
respond.
up. Set the program attendance record last year.
They've been playing so well, 9 straight games. They were on a high.
Let the 0-2 go by, in and out of the
Feeling like
glove
this
of
year would
Winters,
be
but no
different.
advance there from Wyckoff from second base.
They beat this UCLA team. They won the series last year at Husky Softball Stadium.
You know, we've talked
as that is going
a
to
lot about the
be blooped
effect
right
of
into the
both
glove.
Courtney Deifel
Alexis DeBoer
and
for the first
DJ,
out.
their
You
impacts
just
on
have to imagine
programs
from
that
a
they step
psyche
into. We
perspective,
could say those
how do you
same
think
exact
this Washington
things
team is taking that?
about head coach
Like you
for
mentioned,
South Carolina.
last year's team, they were
Ashley
able to take the series,
Chastain
which they
Woodard,
hadn't
who
in a while. And it's a
did some
new
pretty
team with a
incredible
new
things at
identity. A lot of new
University of
faces. You have some
Charlotte before
transfers, you have
stepping
a lot of
over to
people
South
that
Carolina.
haven't-
Man, what
been
What her
fit into the
and her
puzzle
husband,
pieces
who's the head
that
coach,
has changed it up, but
still
they were
at
rolling
Charlotte
really
for
well,
their baseball
so
squad.
That's
I
right.
would hope that as they enter the dugout after this inning, they're able to take a
2-2,
deep
a cut and a
breath,
miss. Got her.
slow the game down, and also
Blew
just
it
remember
right
what
by
they've done in the
Rijo,
past
2
week,
away.
and that they have momentum on
Just
their
an
side. Their bats
incredible
are still
career,
hot.
obviously
They're still working
recognized
with a lot of good pieces
as
together.
Neely
but
Lamb
they just need to
goes
string along some
upstairs for the
hits and
swing
not
and
get
miss.
Too far
Her
down
first
against a
strikeout
Bruin
in the
team
circle.
that can jump on you quick like they just did.
Has
Doesn't
done
get
pretty
any
well
easier
coming
taking
into
on
this
Kanaya
very
Frapp.
hostile environment, especially when Arkansas plated 3 in the first. She's only given up 1.
She's the 6th UCLA
That's off the
player
fists over to
batting
short,
over
the call and the
300
catch
this
Blankenship. So for the first time, Arkansas is held off of the board, and we've played 3 here at
in
Bogle
this
Park.
starting nine.
About Lamb. I mean,
Exactly.
every time that changeup was thrown, I mean, it was not a competitive
We
pitch.
actually have
It
our
was
parents
too
right
low.
here in
It
front
was
of
in
us
front
screaming,
of the
"That's
plate.
my baby! That's
you
my baby!"
Get that
Excited
over.
to see
it
that their
changes
daughter
the
was
way that you
able
can pitch.
to get another
I
home run
said
in
it
the same
once.
minute.
I do believe the off speed is the
6
game
home
changer,
runs on the year.
specifically in facing
And she
Arkansas.
gives UCLA
Out to
a
right
6-0
and on a
lead.
knee. There's Wyckoff.
When it has been spotted, they've been successful
not
with it,
only
but it's been
taken
really spotty.
the
No matter
first
who's in the
punch,
circle, whether that's Sam Gress,
They've
Jory
dealt
Hurd.
a haymaker.
Now we've seen Neely Lamb
Here in the
start to
first.
settle in, but for all 3 of them, we saw Sam Gress throw that off speed just a bit yesterday,
And something
and
about
then after
this
the 5th
start
inning, the
almost
floodgates
feels a little
opened for
personal,
Arkansas, and
Charlize.
she just did not have an answer for them.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah, Jory
like
Hurd,
we said,
who
it is a
started
rivalry that there's something
through
a
2
little
1/3
deeper to it.
yesterday
They've
in Game
faced
1, and then just
Washington and the
1
Bruins
inning,
have
giving up
faced
those
each other
3 runs,
8
though only
times in
1
the
was
World
earned. It was kind of
So you
tough
can
luck
think
because she kept
that
getting ground balls.
You know that you're going
But
to see this team in the
for a
postseason.
very
You
good
know that
South
they're of
Carolina
that caliber.
defense, they
have
didn't
the type of talent
have an
and
answer
the grittiness that it takes to
on
get
those
to
balls
Oklahoma
in the
City.
infield.
So throughout the
Couple
years,
errors,
you've just known this to be
couple
one of the
mental
rivalries
mistakes.
that you always look forward to see on
All
your
in all,
TV
3 runs
and always look forward to
came
step on
in.
the field with.
Goes
You
up in the
heard
zone
2
there.
home runs in this first
Coach Chastain
inning,
Woodard,
punctuated
talking about
by a
pitching.
grand
Pitching
slam.
is her thing.
The
That
6th
is
of her career,
that is her
3rd in the last
expertise.
week.
That is her
She's
brain.
given
That is her
UCLA
specialty.
A huge lead.
High
after
drive,
1.
center field. There's Johnson camping under it. The park holds it for out number 2.
But beyond that, what she has done as a head coach has been extraordinary. 5 seasons at Charlotte, a
Why do people come to the
154
University
and
of Washington?
96 record with 2
come here to
NCAA
find people who
postseason
inspire them, move them,
appearances.
Change them.
Briefly
They come to
mentioned
solve
about
big
her
problems
husband,
and
head
prepare
coach for the
careers where they
baseball
can make
program
a
at Charlotte,
difference.
who, by the
They
way,
come to cheer
is
on their
still living in
Huskies the
Charlotte.
greatest setting
They
in
also
college
bought a
football.
house in South Carolina about 90 minutes
You wanna
apart,
change the
Alex,
world?
and they have
This
been
is where
commuting
you
and making
start.
it work.
For
Been pretty
passion.
extraordinary.
It really is.
Be boundless.
It's certainly a testament to their marriage. They go between the 2.
First conference
Usually in
sweep of
Charlotte
the
on
season.
Mondays because that's kind of the off day.
Washington taking
There
But
they are.
there they are. There's
contest
Robert,
against
head
the
baseball
Wisconsin
coach for
Badgers at
Charlotte,
home.
as well as
Won
Calvin, the
3-2
most
in
important
extra
member of the
innings in
family. I'm
10th
sure that
of
everybody
game
will
one,
say
then
that
2
as well.
straight
Down below,
6-2 victories.
hot shot
And
to
he
left.
talked about
And there's the
needing
2
some
out hit for
heroic
Emma Sellers.
bats.
She is 2 for 2.
And
It
sets
would
up
be hard
perfectly.
for me
Charity
not to come home and want to
Zevatasi
talk shop
was the
and just
hero
break down the
in
game
the
and
first
talk
zone
about bat and
wins
ball. And she said, look, we
for
really work
Washington.
hard on not bringing
With
home
a
the
walk-off
losses.
double
We
in
work
game
hard
one
on
and a
keeping our
pinch hit
emotions about the
3-run
game
home
out of
run
the
in the
house,
fifth
but
inning
leaning
of
on each
game
other
2
because they both
to earn
understand it as
a
well. It's
nod
a
in
fine
the
line. You got to
starting
balance
spot. She had come off the bench.
It was kind of
past 6
incredible,
games,
too,
but has
because
started now 2 straight.
The American
For the
Conference
Huskies.
Championship was at Wichita State, and Charlotte won it last
Certainly
year.
deserving of
And
that
Robert
as
and
well.
the 49ers
And that
just
flutters
so
up the middle,
happened
just over the
to
head of
be in
Fisher,
Wichita
but
that
helps when you
weekend.
have
So
Savannah
they got
Pollock,
to celebrate
the
it
senior, backing
together,
you up to make
which
the
is
play.
a special twist of fate in a lot of ways.
Able to flip it to Grant.
Ball and a
in
strike
time.
here
It's been all
on
smiles,
Vincent as
and
they
it
try to
helps
turn the
when you
lineup over.
Are buttressed by a 6-0 lead. Sophie Zola steps
Burnham
in
has
the
just been
lefty hitter.
methodical in the circle. Yes, she gave up
Takes
those
the
couple
ball
of
below the
runs
zone
in the
from
third,
Fisher.
but has bounced back quite nicely. An inning on. And she's going to get out of this with a pop-up to Rio. South Carolina held off the
Softball
board.
set the board headlining, but
So Kennedy Miller will start it off 9-1 and 2
that is
for the
fortunately going to
Razorbacks
be
here in the 4th
bunted
inning. Miller,
in
Johnson,
front of the
and
screen.
Kramer to
UCLA's
come.
Defense was ready ready for it. They've got 5 different freshmen that aren't even starting in this
Popped
lineup,
up.
but
Will
have been
this stay
productive
in
all
play?
year for
Yes, it
Washington.
will. Rhodey right by the screen.
As we look at Heather Tarr,
Something
the
that's so
winningest
apparent
head
to
coach,
me and
not
having
only
the opportunity to
in
talk
the
to both
program
of these
history,
head
but also
coaches,
Washington athletics
you can sense
history
their
as well.
humanness just in seeing their in-game
20
interviews, but
consecutive trips
having spent some
to the
time
NCAA tournament as
really
a head coach, 30
picking their
consecutive
brains
trips,
for the betterment
as a
of an
program,
hour apiece.
including a
These are
couple of
really,
national
really
titles as
good
well under her
humans
belt,
that
as Fisher
genuinely love these young
strikes out
women. They're
Bubke
invested in their
for round
development.
number 2.
You could see just the emotion in Coach Deifel
That's
talking
also why
about
these two
Brie
programs
Ellis
are
and
so well respected.
what it's been like to
UCLA
have her for
and
2
Washington,
years.
because
Ashley
they have two
Chastain Woodard bringing
alpha
over
female
a
coaches that
ton
played at
of
their
the
alma mater that are
relationship
now
she
giving
built
back
from
and
Charlotte.
have been able to create
She talked
winningest
about the fact
programs.
that South
They
Carolina
have
hitting the ground
been
running,
able to pour out what they know
having
about the game,
the
but also
success they
coach
had
and lead
earlier
teams
in this
to
year
where
was
they want to be at the end of the
due
year.
to the talent that
So
she
Right.
brought
it's
over.
two
You know,
teams
and
that
she wouldn't have
know are-
brought 6
they know are
former
capable
players
of
from
getting
Charlotte
where
if
they
she
wanna
didn't
be
think
and
that she
have
could
done it time
compete,
and time again.
and they could all compete at that kind of level.
Paves the outer
You and
corner
I,
for strike
you and I
2.
both have covered a lot of softball. We've
Carroll
talked to a
drew
lot of
Walker
coaches.
first
You've
time
covered
up.
multiple sports and had a chance to be around a lot of head coaches. It just feels like both of these women really love what they do, and they love who they coach, and they're invested for the right reasons.
Former community college
Well, and success
products,
follows that.
season
Tip off of the glove at Chansey,
Mount Hood Saints.
and Johnson is on. The only
West
way they were
Athletic
going to get
Conference.
Johnson was going to be to snare that, and
First-team
that had
All-American
a
in her
lot
conference, batting over
of English on it.
14 home runs before transferring.
Take a look at the defense here.
Fisher's had a couple loose laces
A
in the
hot
circle.
chop to the 5-6
tying
hole. There's
those
an
puppies up
extra
in time.
infielder on the dirt. They bring in Knight from right field
Soul at
just to
second,
give their
Peshek at
defense a
first.
shot at that out, and they still don't get
0-2,
it.
Fisher doesn't get the
Second
call.
infield
Ball one.
single for Reagan Johnson. I think so much of that just had to do with the spin. It was hard for Chansey to see that one into the pocket. And now Arkansas's really in business, 1 out, and the speedy Johnson on first base. She's on the move. Throw
Madison.
down. It
About for
does not
smiling in
get
the
better
circle,
than
she
that
says.
from Winters.
Typically, it's her coping mechanism for dealing with calls that maybe she disagrees with.
Well, there is a reason that Lexi Winters has
That's a
caught
sweet
now
coping
6
mechanism.
of
Very
14 would-be
2-2.
base stealers.
This
Second time
time
Johnson's been caught
does
this
not
year.
get the
You're
call,
waiting
and I
on this
believe Ava
opportunity if
Carroll,
you're Winters.
little hasty
Reagan
running
Johnson is
over
one of
to the
the
first
most
base bag.
dangerous
Still has one more
athletes in the
pitch to
Arkansas
deal with.
lineup. I think that it's easy for a lot of teams to get caught up in Brie Ellis and Ella McDowell with the pop and the power, but to me, one of the scariest bats in this
She had
lineup is
deja
Reagan
vu from her
Johnson.
last at bat.
And Winters
Correct.
comes up with an absolute shot to second base.
And the judgment, that is softly rolled to Megan Grant.
That's
at
like a real
first.
prove
So
it.
they
That's
strand
like
2.
Player
as the
on
Bruins
player, like
maintain
I'm
their
gonna show you. You
6-0
try to
lead.
steal on me. Bad decision that time for Reagan Johnson.
UCLA,
My goodness, what a throw.
where extraordinary things
And now
happen.
one
Where the
pitch away
internet
from
was
getting
born.
out of this.
Yes, the internet.
Out to center, and this
Where
should
Coach
do it.
John
There's
Wooden
Lelio.
inspired us to make each day our masterpiece.
Change the
We
entire
don't just break
momentum
records.
of
We
that
shatter.
inning. Arkansas held.
Leo
Leo
steps
steps in and
19 of their
takes
last 20,
low and
the
away. And
third
Emily
such
Vinson,
streak of the
a
season,
Longwood
their only
transfer,
loss.
grew up a
Big
half
Ten loss
hour
in Game
outside
2
of
at
Columbia,
Iowa,
and she entered the
they
transfer
led
portal
4-2
and was honest
heading into the bottom
with
of the sixth
coach
inning.
for
So
South Carolina. Said, I
wouldn't
only
say
went
that
into the
they're
portal to
peaking
see
at
if I
the
could
right
play
time,
for you.
That was
they've
it.
been peaking, it seems
If you'll
like,
take
this
me,
entire
I want to
year.
play for South Carolina. If not,
Exactly like you said. I
I
don't
guess
think that
I'll
they're
just
truly
go back to
peaking just
Longwood.
yet. I think that they have gone
Made
through
a
little
huge
spurts
impact
where
at the
they're
bottom
just
of this
checking.
lineup.
It seems like when they lose a game,
And
they're able to
it's
reflect
already
and they
singled
don't
and
dwell
scored
on it,
today.
And are able to bounce back on these win streaks again, but they're able to have
Lelio
a subtle
rips
check-in
it
of
into
where are we
center.
and where are we going? And that's something that Coach Kelly Inouye Perez always talks about in pregame. She always talks about it in practice, that she wants to know exactly where they're
So
going.
Arkansas
and not get lost in, oh, we won
has sent
a
Cam
few games.
Harrison
We don't know
now
how we
into
won. We
the
don't know how
circle,
we're playing right now. She wants them to be
relieving Peyton
super
Burnham,
crystal
who
clear
worked
on
a
exactly
very
what they're doing
effective
on the
first 4
diamond and
innings.
what they're going to produce.
Freshman for
during
freshman
practice.
here.
Jessica Clements taking on her former teammate, Sophia Ramuno.
A little bit different look from
Two-strike
Harrison
technique, and
compared
Ramuno missed
to
outside.
Burnham. Both
Ball, 2
freshmen,
strikes.
both learning a
I
lot
wonder how
in the
many
circle.
times Jess has gotten
Getting
in
some
at-bat
valuable
off of
conference
Ramuno.
experience, a tough gauntlet
Maybe
here in the
in
SEC.
scrimmages, maybe in the
And
fall.
that is a rude welcoming
curious to know.
so far by Lelio and now Carly Shelton.
It was interesting talking to Courtney Deifel
I
about
think we're simpatico.
what Cam
I was
Harrison is
thinking
going to have to
exact
do
Same thing, of course.
Simpatico.
when she gets the ball
Sorry, I
to
didn't
be
have the
successful. It's
proper
trusting
accent
her
like you
stuff
do.
through the zone. This is an arm that spins the ball really
Sounds a lot
well, has
better
a
when you
tight
say it.
RPM, tight revolution
Clements was
on
the
her
Big
movement
West Player
pitches, and
of
a
the Year,
devastating
two-time
changeup,
batting
but
champ,
has
but
to
she
trust her
doesn't bite
stuff.
on the
And already
changeup.
getting challenged early.
So Ramuno knows what she's
Low and
capable
away to
of. but
Rhodey.
I just wonder how
Here
many
with
times this
2 on
matchup
and
has
nobody
happened in
out.
practice, or if she knows what pitch
Gets a
she
lot
wants
of
to go
fly
to
balls,
against
but
Jessica
against
Clements,
Rhodey
if she kinda took the
sometimes that
reins
can
of,
be a recipe
oh, yeah, this
for
is what I want
disaster.
against her. This is the combo I want.
11
Flies it
home
into
runs
left,
on the
sprinting
season, just
forward
4
is
off of
Carroll, and
the
gets
program's
underneath
single
it to make
season
the
lead.
catch.
And just as she says that, to
Clements.
deep center and out of here.
First time all year that she got a break, didn't start or play against California.
Ariana
Look at Kelly
Rhodey
Noy
gives
Perez.
South Carolina its first
Nonchalantly
lead of the game.
On one knee, leaning over in the dugout, smiling with Sophia Malika.
Do you think she's talking about the throwout, or you think she's talking about her home run?
Knowing her, she's talking about the throwout.
I think so too.
It's the 12th home
I
run
even
for
asked her
Ariana
about
Rhodey.
Caitlin Terry. I
She
said, what do you
leads this
think
team
Terry
in
was
home
more
runs.
pleased
If you're
with?
going to miss
Grand
to
slam or
anybody,
her career high in
it cannot
strikeouts?
be to this bat.
She said, well,
I mean, this ball is
still
down
think she's
Broadway,
more
the
pleased with
meat
strikeout
of the strike
performance, so
zone.
it shows that whatever your primary role is, that's the one she's
2
gonna focus
on,
not to
no
mention she's
outs.
an excellent
You have to
catcher.
be more competitive
that
with pitch
internal
location right
relationship.
here. And the freshman
Coach
getting a
Kelly Noe
taste
really does
of the
stress
Gamecocks for the
importance
first
of a
time.
catcher behind the
a
plate, which
3-run
not a lot of
shot in
programs
this
really
game
do,
is
but
starting to
now,
look completely different.
After playing underneath a head coach that was
One
a catcher,
swing
I
of
finally
the bat
felt like
changes
it was
everything
someone
now
that was
for
able
South
to
Carolina.
understand all the
Rhodey, who
burdens
had
that you have to kind of
been in a
carry and
little
pick up,
bit
and
of
that
a
leadership
skid,
aspect, and she,
even though she
I'm
has now reached base
just so
32
happy
straight
to see that
games.
Sophia
That's
and
her
Maggie have
first
been able
run
to get a
driven
taste
in
of
the
that
last 9.
so early on in their career.
I
only
mean,
got 2 years
if
of
I'm being
being able to
completely
get the
honest here,
knowledge
I'm a
from Coach Kelly
little
Noe
bit
Perez, but
shocked that we
they're
saw a
able to have
pitching
it for
change.
hopefully a long time and just be able to learn as much as they can from her,
Burnham
'cause
was
like
doing
you
a
said,
pretty
she
good
was a
job
very
in the
good
circle,
catcher,
was
probably one of the
getting
best
a
in
little
the
bit of
game,
hard
and
contact,
she
but
was able to control
from my perspective,
pitcher
doing
that
a good job
knew what
at
she was
chipping
doing, and
away
Lisa
on the outer
Fernandez would
corners
also
of
be
the
her
strike
sounding board
zone.
when she needed to be.
And immediately Harrison coming in and just getting clobbered.
Changing
Heron
out
and
a couple of
Berline.
softballs.
Warming for Arkansas now down in the left field bullpen.
It's probably easy to catch a pitcher like Lisa.
Got her on the
Fernandez,
0-2,
though, because
down
you know
in the
exactly
dirt,
where that
Miller
ball's
to
going,
first.
and you know exactly what
And
she wants
Lexi
in
Winters
certain
is
situations.
retired.
She's kind of the captain driving that, but
This
it's
is the
nice to
type
have
of
a
junk,
friendship
right? The
with-
type of
that they
spin
have.
from
Like, now they're
Harrison
coaching together, but
that she's
playing
known
together,
for.
having
You
that
can
friendship
see
and
the
that
tight
camaraderie to be
revolution.
able
It
to
looks
talk
like a
to one another
frisbee
and learn
when
from
she
one
throws it
another,
in
too.
there. It has so much dance,
I would have
so
loved
much
to catch
wiggle.
Lisa.
Although, as
But
you
she
talked
cannot
about,
throw
she
through
has a
that
nasty
break.
changeup that disappears. So I don't know if it's always easy to catch those.
I would much rather catch them.
So the
than hit
Gamecocks
them.
here in the
BP, she will
fifth have
humble
gone
me with that
hard
changeup,
hit
but I'd much
balls
rather
the
catch
first
it, knowing
3.
it's coming,
I
you know?
guarantee you those are all going down as competitive
CPAs.
plate appearances.
Although
That's
you
for
were a
sure.
masher.
How about the
You led
response, though,
UCLA
from
with 20
South
home runs
Carolina?
last year.
Outstanding.
It's fun times, fun times.
The consistency
On the ground
from
to short,
Lelio
a
in the
long
leadoff,
throw for Peshek.
by the way, was hitting over
Savannah
500
Pola
for the
is on
majority
a
of the
one-out
season
infield single.
and was upset at herself at one
That's
point
what's
for dipping
interesting
into the
about
400s,
this year's
and Ashley
team
Chastain
is
Woodard
they
had to
share some
kind of
of the
bring her back
components to
into
your
reality that, hey,
senior year's squad
400
in terms
average is
of
pretty
you
darn
and I
good.
Brady pacing
She
the team
started
for
the
7
year
home runs.
through the very
The
beginning of it
difference
hitting
is we talked
800.
about 6 different batters on this UCLA team are batting over
Unbelievable.
300, and
Shelton
Wolverine
doing her
Grant
thing in the
aren't
2-hole,
only
and then
ones
you
to
have
to
that
carry
big bomb
that
from
offensive
Rhodey.
load.
Yeah, there's
So they can beat you in a
2 and
number of
1
ways.
on
They can
Chansey.
do it with the long ball, as Woolery and Grant have shown.
Should get a good
Also,
pitch to hit coming
with
up
the
here.
small ball game.
Yeah, there's dynamic duos that you see with Grant and Woolery, but you also see table setters, whereas Maya was in the number 1 position. So she had to do a lot of the table setting, sometimes hitting home runs, and maybe there wasn't
3 and
runners
1
so
on Chansey.
There were there was that
One hop
component, but
steered
like
by
you said,
Davison
a new identity. That's
to
what's
Ellis
so cool
for out
about
number 2.
seeing these two teams face
And
off
so
in an
a couple
outsider's
in a row
perspective.
retired by
You see so
Harrison
many new
after the
faces
roadie
and so many
bomb.
new faces taking on really big roles. In the Bruin
Speaking
lineup
with Ashley
specifically,
Chastain
Savvy
Woodard
Pola,
about
like
this
you mentioned,
offense,
has really risen
we've
to
mentioned the
occasion of her final lap
CPAs,
and is
the game
enjoying
within the
I
game,
love
but
seeing
what
her
allows
smile.
this
She has
squad
the
to be
cutest
so
little
good is
smile,
their
but
patience
she's just
at the
really
plate. They do
enjoying
not swing
this
out of the
last
zone
year with her
often.
girls, and you just see them
Really
having
strong
a lot of
eyes
fun
when
out
they
there, and
do
I think
take a
that's also
cut.
what produces
It's
really
with
good softball
conviction.
play,
You saw
I
the
believe,
conviction
is
there from
being able to
Blankenship.
enjoy
That
your
swing and
craft and
miss
have fun out
let
there
her
and
high.
crack
But
a smile
this
here
team
and there and
really
joke around in the
does have a
dugout. That's
tight
always
zone
what
at the
creates
plate.
just that high-flowing, high-functioning kind of play.
A lot of that credited to associate
Takes
head
another
coach Katie
changeup,
Browder.
dips below the zone. It's back
Was
to
also
back walks.
On Ashley's
Drawn
staff
by Jordan
at
Woolery.
Charlotte.
That's the growth. That's the evolution. Her game.
Was in charge of the offense under Jamie Traxel before that. And when she was at Minnesota, not just Ole Miss. And now it's a ball and 2 strikes on Blankenship. And I think what really embodies both of these teams is their resilience. You do hear it a lot, but it seems every single time these teams just bounce back. They find a way.
Megan Grant is officially
Numbered is second. There's Davison again. But this game is completely different thanks to Rhodey.
I see what you did.
And it's not just a lot of fans.
Grand slam
it's the noise. They're into it. They're living on every pitch. And it is a stadium that got very quiet with that one swing of the bat from Ariana Rhodey. As Arkansas now trails 5-4. Bri Ellis went around, according to Emrys Addison, the first base umpire, and the count even up at 1-1.
Well, this is a big-time matchup. Both of these teams, depending on which poll you're looking at, the ESPN USA softball poll has Arkansas sitting at 10. Guess who's sitting at 11? None other than South Carolina. These two neck and neck trying to stay in that top 10.
1-2 count to Megan Grant. Mashed a grand slam for the first time up. And
Ellis down in the count, a ball and 2 strikes.
Pitches off the plate.
As far as RPI goes, South Carolina sitting at number 2, Arkansas sitting at number 7. That strength of schedule for both of these squads really flexing itself.
The Gamecocks also second in strength of schedule. Arkansas coming in at number 6. They play a tough schedule. And being in the SEC, they see the best teams in the country.
They have a chance to clear the yard.
1-2 pitch. 2-2.
Fans very much into this contest early on. The 2-2 digs underneath it and lines one into center. Zola is there.
Last thing South Carolina wants to do is let Ellis get into one and get this crowd back behind them.
5 straight wins against Big Ten.
Not on that
opponents
pitch.
from UCLA. They've swept the past.
You know, on paper, both of these teams look really similar. We've talked about their defensive numbers. Both of these squads are really elite on the dirt. I think the biggest glaring difference is just the home run numbers. Arkansas with 52 long balls this year. South Carolina only with 29.
Stepping up, second at bat for the lefty hitter.
Similar numbers in the circle as far as their staffs go. Like this is a neck and neck matchup. You and I mentioned in game 1, a run rule was not on our bingo card. And the fashion in which it unfolded was very odd.
I mean, it's 2-1 going into the 5th, South Carolina.
Exactly. I mean, this really is just a wild card. Very evenly matched ball clubs, well coached.
They're going to be throwing haymakers. So the importance of them to be able to really lock in
3-2.
Last half of this
downstairs,
season,
and that starts it off for Arkansas.
It's really important for them to be able to continue.
Well, don't miss number 2 Oklahoma, 22nd ranked Alabama. They continue their big 3-game softball series tomorrow. Game 2 coverage at 6 Eastern, and then they finish up the series Monday night at 7 Eastern. It's Mic'd Up Monday. You don't want to miss it with Matt Schumacher and Amanda Scarborough in T-Town. Oklahoma took the first game of that series 5-1 with 5 7th-inning runs. They were down going into that 7th inning. High drive to deep right field off of the bat of McDowell, and it just hauled in by Knight. Gave it a ride, and McDowell was close Goes to
Still
go.
lead it 6.
See the smile, the nervous
2, 3,
smile
4
from
batters
Knight. I
coming
thought
up
for a
to the
second
plate.
this might be
The Huskies
over the
will
head
return.
of Knight in right field. She had to stumble to basket catch that ball. I don't know if it got caught in the lights.
It's unconventional, that's
Wow.
for sure. But it ends up being out number 1, and Ellis has to retreat to first. And Coach Woodard talking with the home plate umpire and the crew chief, Bobby DeMeo, as we are going to see our third pitcher of the game coming up for South Carolina. And they're going to go with the Charlotte transfer, Sam Gress, here in the 5th.
Returns to Soldier Field in Chicago. Runners can choose between the 10K or 5K option, followed by an
Here's Sam Gress. Gave up 5 runs in 2 2/3 innings last night in relief, and they are going to see if maybe we get a different story coming for South Carolina here on a Saturday night.
6-year senior in this circle. Not only is she just a captain, she's the head captain of this team. Was nominated, interviewed by the coaching staff, and has now the ball in her hand in
UCLA
a
through the
pressure-filled
first 2
moment
innings as
with
we head
Bree
into
Ellis
the top
standing on
of
first base.
third. 6
And a
nothing
big
lead,
momentous
courtesy of 2 long
opportunity. You can
balls.
feel it,
Grand
Alex,
slam.
in the stadium. Like,
Make
this
it
crowd
Grant,
is alive. This
2-run home run
feels
for the
like there's some
freshman,
wind under the
Sophia
sails here
Ulika.
for the Razorbacks.
And
And
UCLA
who they're going to
embarking on
have
their
to
most
face in the circle
treacherous
is a
stretch
leader.
of the
She's a
season,
hard
taking on
thrower.
Washington this
She
weekend.
challenges
Next
up
weekend,
in the zone.
it's at
And
Oregon and
we've talked
Eugene.
about the
Very
specialization
end of
for
the
some
season,
arms.
they
This
get
is
to
their
host
lefty specialist.
Northwestern in their final
She runs
series.
the ball up and
We
in
talked about
against
at
those
the Open,
lefty
Charlize,
hitters.
The top
But she's
of
gonna
this
face the
Big
righty of
Ten
Courtney Day.
Conference is made up of a lot of
And
former
Day takes
Pac-12
upstairs.
Yeah, the West
After
Coast
this,
newcomers
though,
are
Wyckoff
really
and
making a
Riho
splash in this new
back-to-back
conference. And
lefties.
just to talk about the strength that
Dea,
the Pac-12
strikeout
had
and a
when it was
ground
a
out to
conference,
third.
There was a lot
Ellis
of
is
teams
on
there
first.
that
She represents the
competed like
tying run
postseason
here in the
teams.
5th
So
for
for them
Arkansas.
to integrate into a new conference, be
Off the fist,
three
shallow
of the
center
top
field, could
4
be
teams
trouble,
that are
and it
contending
dunks
in
into
the Big
no
Ten,
man's land.
it just shows you not only the strength that the Pac-12
They had to
had,
respect Courtney
but
Day's
it also
power
is making
so
other
much
teams
in
play
center
up and be able
field
to play teams
that she's
have
able
the
to just
caliber
pop
be
it
in the Women's College World
into
Series
the
because of
shallow
that
spot.
experience during conference. So it's important that they
Yeah, this is
made
up
this
and in on the
transition
hands
because
for
they're
Day.
able to
She gets just
see
a little bit
really
fisted,
what we were
sawed off,
matching up
but the
against, 'cause
power,
you can
the
argue that the
strength, she's
Pac-12
able to
was
bloop this into center field.
strong and just right there
Lelio
with the SEC.
just doesn't
so
have a play.
You, can
You
kind
said
of
it, respecting
make
the
that
power of Courtney
suggestion
Day,
now,
despite
seeing
a
how
little
they've
bit of a
integrated
rocky
to a new
weekend. 3
conference.
Ks so far on the weekend. You do have to respect that pop.
And just to add to that, there's
Arkansas
enough
just 1
empirical
for 7
evidence
with
to
runners
show
in
that
scoring
the Pac-12
position
was
tonight
successful. They produced
as they
22
find themselves
NCAA
trailing for
Division
the
I
first
softball
time all
championships,
game.
the most by any conference. As Fisher's 2-2, that's sharply hit to third, and Woolery goes across the diamond for out number 1.
Both
We
of these
obviously
teams
know
had rough
why
starts to their
they're now
SEC
in the Big
conference
Ten for
play.
financial
South
reasons,
Carolina
but
went
when it
0-4.
came to softball, to your point,
Then after
yes,
that,
Oklahoma has been
won
so
6
successful
of their
in the
last
SEC, Texas, Oklahoma
8.
State now as well. And LSU
9
got
going
it
into
at 12.
tonight after
They were
that
the
loss
torchbearers
last night in
softball.
Arkansas.
Yeah,
On the
champions
other
were
hand,
made
they,
in
I mean,
that
they
conference,
started
and
1-5, and now they're
bleeding
9
throughout
and
so many
7.
different conferences now.
So both of
and
these
making huge
teams,
impacts
we talk
wherever
about
they go.
resilience.
That was
They're
their slogan,
not going to
Conference of
let
champions.
a bad start
pay a
hinder
nod
the rest of the season.
To now, what is creating a really
Good job
cool
just staying
journey
alive
for
there.
these two teams now
Wyckoff
being
didn't
able to
love
go
the offering.
cross country, what they never used to do unless they had to go to other schools for postseason. But they normally
She
stay
put one
here
down
in
the
West
left field
Coast, and
line
they
for
were
a
actually
double.
able- the
Her
Bruins were
second of
actually
the
able to visit
series
the
already.
monument.
Also
They were
a fielder's
actually able
choice,
to
her first
do a lot
time
of
up.
team bonding
That
in
brought in
those
a run for
long
Arkansas.
road trips, which you weren't really able to do with a 4-game weekend when you would just go up to Seattle. So a lot of new experiences. that
Off
you get
speed on the outside
in a new
corner.
conference, and also able to show the strength that you have.
That was pretty for Gress.
Drag loads
There's
up.
such a
collects out number
professionalism
2
about
on the
Sam
6-3
Gress.
Put out to your point.
This is a
They took
money
on Maryland.
off-speed
They
pitch. We
spent their
heard it
off
from
day in
Coach
DC
Chastain
exploring the
Woodard
Capitol
that this
Hill.
is
They
going to
had
have to be the
social
difference
gathering
maker.
with
If
some
this pitching
UCLA
staff
alumni
can
in the
spot
area
the
through
off-speed, they're going to
University
find
of
some success, and she
California,
found it against
Washington
Wyckoff.
Center. Really cool
Went right back to it on
opportunity to
Riho,
experience
but couldn't find the zone.
the new weather, but
So
the
Ellis on
environment
second, Day on
they haven't
first after
really
that
traveled
bloop
to.
single. Tying
For
and
sure,
go-ahead
new weather from
runs
this California.
for the Razorbacks here in the
Nice
fifth.
ocean breeze
After
that they
3 on the
have
board in the
here.
top half from South Carolina. Worm burner hits the runner.
Lucia Flores.
It hit
It's a
Day on the
fastball.
way by, and this inning is over.
Ball one. Talked about the hand warmers that they had to use at Iowa.
Rhodey
Also had to
bailed
use
out
water
because it
bottle.
goes
One
underneath her glove.
cold water,
You know, and I
one
wonder,
that they would use to
I think Courtney Deifel's going to say
heat
that
up
Day
for
couldn't even
broth.
see that the ball
have
was
some
coming her way
cups of
because she was
soup in the
expecting it to
dugout
be fielded by
stay
Rhodey.
warm.
But a
Had
worse
to have a
back in.
positive impact, not only
And that hot
in
shot
their
is
chosen
off
sport,
of Ellis and
also
into right
within
field.
their
Didn't have
career.
any time
It's just
to
a
react
wonderful
to that ball
initiative
off the
to
bat at
honor
night.
and
And she's got her
recognize such
first
an
hit of the
influential
series.
figure, not only in UCLA, but in sports in general. This transcends sports.
This is the second inning, back-to-back innings
Nia
that Harrison
Bragg
has
leading
given up
things off for UCLA here
leadoff
in the
singles.
bottom
We may have a
of the
pitching change
third
here as
inning.
well.
It's taken a lot of punishment.
Might be about to see our third pitcher of the game.
Was
Here for Arkansas.
contact-free her first time up, a 4-pitch walk.
And indeed, that is exactly what is about to happen.
Burnham
Bruno
coming back
is
in.
trying to bounce back herself, which she
So
did in the
technically our
second
third
inning.
pitcher, but
She
only our
retired
second actual
3 of the
pitcher.
5
She
UCLA
re-enters.
batters.
You can re-enter in softball, and Peyton Burnham
Left 2
is going to come
UCLA
back.
base runners stranded in the second.
So already you can see she threw those 4 innings.
and started
And
game
like
one
you said,
against
Aaron, maybe a little
Wisconsin.
bit surprised
As
that she was
Bragg
pulled in that
smacks one
fifth
high
inning.
and deep into
Harrison
center.
really
Back goes
struggled, even
Mazzola,
though she was
and it
able to get
stays
out of that
fair.
fifth inning. She gave up
As
the
fans
3-run
got a little
home run, and now
restless.
with one on
Thought
and
they were
nobody out in
seeing
the
the
sixth,
third
she's
homer
coming
of the
back
game,
in.
but instead it's the first
I mean,
down.
what this move tells me is that the leash was short. They wanted to see something different out of Harrison at the top of the 6th inning,
Again, it's
and they
not the
didn't give
only
it.
way that UCLA
Gave up
has
another
proven
leadoff single, and then
they can
gives
take
the ball
down
back to
opponents,
Burnham, who
not
I
just the
really
long
do
ball.
believe, despite some solid
Alexis
contact here and
Ramirez
there, she did have a 1-2-3 inning
started
back
to
in the
find
second.
her swing as of
She
late.
held South Carolina tight. Thought she had a
one
pretty
hit
good
through
approach.
Her first 7 appearances coming back from injury, but since then,
So she comes back into this game with
had 5
Abigail
hits
Knight on
in
first,
her
and she
last
will deal
4
to Emma
games.
Sellers, who has had a really
Like you
nice
said, just
game
trying
at
to
the
find a
plate
rhythm
so
as she's
far.
coming
A
back.
single, a run
She's-
scored in the third, and then
Was not in the
a
lineup
base
at the
knock
beginning
in
of
the
the year,
fourth
and
as
they
well.
started inputting her for a pinch
So it's looking
hit,
like a
and
great
started putting
decision
her
from
within
Ashley
the lineup in
Chastain
the
Woodard,
DP
putting her
position,
into the
and
DG
just trying to
spot.
find her feet underneath her.
Natalie
just
Heath
trying to get those reps.
was
and
there
there's
last
nothing that can
night.
mimic game-like reps.
Only 2 more
You have to be
opportunities
in-game, and you really
offensively
have
for
to feel it out
Arkansas.
and go through
This is an inning
those
where you
cues
just
and go
cannot
through the
give
mechanics
up
that you've been
another
working through in
insurance run to
practice
South
and really
Carolina. And on the
implement
flip
them at a
side,
competitive
South
speed.
Carolina is pushing for that insurance to pad this lead. There have been some crazy things happen in game 1. We saw what
Ramirez
Arkansas
blasts
did
one
in the
into
5th inning,
left center, but again, it
ended up
stays fair for
coming from
Mazzola.
a 2-1 deficit to run ruling the Gamecocks.
She has been busy over in
Burnham
center.
deals to Sellers. Greeted with a line
Pressure
drive to
Sophia
left
Malika
off the
just
base of the
delivered her
wall.
6th
Knight
home run
pulls
of
into
the
third.
season.
Stand-up double. Sellers. Gamecocks
Well,
looking
early
to
for
add
the
to that
night-night
one-run lead
celebration,
here
but
in the
maybe
6th.
not. Trying to put this game away. The first couple of
So
innings.
solid.
She has
This is a
shown
pitch
so
that's on
much
the
mental
inside part
toughness.
of the plate, a miss for Burnham, and this is
Probably
power
assumed
alley
that
for
she would
Sellers.
be
A
the regular
3-for-3
starter when she
night
arrived in
for Emma
Westwood. A
Sellers.
split time.
Kramer in
with
left
Maggie
field didn't
Daniel.
even give chase, which was a
But
good
as
call
of
there,
late,
just to
even though
turn
they're
around and
trading
play that
off,
bounce
has
off
typically
the
been
wall.
starting
One of the
2 of 3
advantages
games
of being in your
series,
home
games
park
1
is
and
knowing
3.
how that outfield fence is going to play.
Trying to make herself
She
indispensable.
knew the
as that's
ricochet, the
carrying
bounce
deep
that would
into
come off the
right.
padding
Flores
in left
makes the
field.
catch, and it's a quick 3-up, 3-down inning for Sophia
Chloe Lackey
Ramuno,
is gonna come
finally
in and
able
pinch
to
run
retire the UCLA batters.
for Knight
We're
at
through
third
3
base.
in Westwood.
There's just something
And
about
Natalie
basketball.
Heath is going to
Just the
pinch hit
pure
for
joy I
Emily
had from
Vincent.
playing when I was 10. I went and told my mom I'm going to play in the WNBA.
Heath
And I
last
had
night was
no
0 for
idea
2 with a
what
strikeout.
That really even meant, but I had a deep belief that I could be the best.
Big insurance
My
runs.
freshman year, it was probably like halfway through the year.
It's
we
going to
played
make
a
its
game,
way
won, it
into
was
the
in overtime,
seats.
and it was
And
pouring
how
rain
about this
outside,
South Carolina
and everyone
offense
left
after
the
being
game,
held
and I
to
had walk home
2
in the
runs
rain.
on 3 hits
And I
in
just
game
remember
1?
thinking,
They already
no one
have
offered me
5
right.
runs on
Why
a
is
dozen hits here in game 2.
And I was like, well, I don't think that I'm here making people better. It was very humbling. From that moment, I
Heath
was like, you know
bounces
what,
to
like,
third,
I need
scooped
to
up by
lead
McDowell.
first.
No
So
advance
when I
from the
play with
runners,
a
and
team
there
or
is out
with a
number
national
1.
Team or just in life, I'm like, okay, a trailblazer can inspire others. I'm
It's
Kelsey
a nice
Plum,
play by
two-time
McDowell,
WNBA
freshman
champion
at
with the
third
Las
base,
Vegas
able to
Aces
stay
and
down on
University
this
of
hot
Washington
shot
alum.
from
Go
Vincent.
Dogs, baby.
Good first out there. And now we
Addison
actually
Fisher,
are
60
going to
pitches
see
thrown,
our third pitcher
3
of
hits,
the
3
game.
walks
It is
allowed,
Robin Herron.
1 strikeout in 3 innings.
We'll tell you
a
much
perfect
more
11
about
and
her,
0
the Game 1
mark.
starter who just threw a
She has
complete
shown
game in the
so
win
much maturity
yesterday
and growth throughout
here in
the
Fayetteville.
season. She would grow frustrated when she would miss pitches and she would allow it to
Akir was
sometimes
just
affect her a little bit more than the
outstanding
coaching staff
last
would
night
want, and that's
in
what they've
that
been working
win.
and talking to her about.
Gave up just
Just
2
trying to
runs on
control
3
those
hits. She
emotions
struck
in the
out
circle.
9
She's been doing a wonderful
while
job.
scattering 4 walks
Coach Kellyanne Perez
in the
also
6
said that
innings
she
for
saw something
Arkansas,
really different
leading
in
them to
Addison
that
in
big
her
run
no-hitter
rule
against Howard. She
W
saw her very
last
loose.
night,
She
and
saw
now
her not
Aaron,
giving too
she's
much
going to be
emotion,
tasked with
like you said, to too
an
many of
incredibly
her bad
important
pitches, and really
situation,
just
down by
focus on
1
what she does
and
best,
2
which is
runners in
drop
scoring
ball. She does
position.
have that
You know,
confidence
9
knowing that she's able
strikeouts
to
in
dot
game
that pitch
1, and
wherever
to
she
me, it
wants
was
it.
that drop
And
ball. One of the
Coach
most
Kellyanne Perez saw that she
wicked
really
drop balls
felt
in
that
our game right
from
now
her
comes
on
out of the
mound
hand of
against
Robin
Howard.
Herron.
You at times need that breakthrough game that you really feel everything.
This is the
you
ace
need
of the
to
staff for
continue to
Arkansas.
propel
Courtney
you with that
Deifel depending on
confidence.
her.
She's been using it
As
and
Quincy
has looked
Lilio
really
comes
good
in
this
and takes
contest
strike
and
1. Back
has
to the top of the order
done well in her
with
freshman
Lilio
season.
and Shelton now due. They started the rally for the Gamecocks in the 5th that ended with Ariana Rohde's 3-run home run to make it a 5-4 lead for the Gamecocks. Bunt attempt. What a squeeze. And no play. Herron just had to look back the pinch runner. And that was all they could do. Lacey just kind of toyed with her. And now the bases are loaded here with 1 out.
This is what's called a sacrifice squeeze. The defense is anticipating the effort at home plate, but all that's happening is that Lockie at third base is reading this ball. She's baiting defense for attention, and that finds Lilio on her way to first. That's going to go down as a CPA right there.
Definitely.
Right off the table for her.
That is an execution
And I
of an
think
action
pitch.
play. That's the
Exactly what she
second
said
bunt
about
we've seen from
feeling
Lilio as
like
well
everything came together. That's
as
easy
2
to
base
see
hits on the
from a coaching
evening. So
perspective,
solid
also
in the
from
leadoff for South
Coach I.
Carolina.
She's able to see
So
everything
go down
coming
as a
together,
fielder's
the
choice there for
emotion of the
Lilio.
game,
And now
the
here is
frequency
Carly
of her
Shelton.
throwing, the spin, the way that she's able to react after a pitch,
Right at
whether
the
it's a ball or a
knees.
strike.
Nothing in 2.
She's
This
able
would be
to
a
see that, and I
huge
think that's
out
why one of
to
those
get
games,
Shelton before Ariana Rohde
Howard in
comes up
specific was
with
probably one of her favorite
nowhere to
games
put her.
to date.
The difference maker in this game right now.
Doesn't catch the top of the corner. 3 balls, no strikes. Sophie Mazzola has been fantastic tonight over in center.
South Carolina trying to even up
Takes
this
a strike.
series at a game apiece.
Again, another younger
Arkansas
freshman on
looking
this
to
team.
put it away and go for this
Named
sweep
numerous
tomorrow.
watch lists entering the year. Out of Eureka, Missouri. 292, swings and misses for strike 2. But was 0 for 6 against
You could feel the sense
Wisconsin.
of urgency here from
Starting
South Carolina
the
to
first
push a
and the
couple
third
of
game
insurance
of the
runs across the
series.
board, and rightfully so. Looking at what is going to come up offensively for Arkansas in the 6th and the 7th, they're
Pops
going to
it
face
into
Bree Ellis and
shallow
Ella
left.
McDowell. They will.
Bragg is backpedaling. And holds
1 and 2 on
for the
Shelton.
second out.
Got her! After 9 Ks last night, Herron has her first
Riley
in Game
Pescic
2.
Counting for
Coming
one
from the
of
left
3
side
hits
of the
for
body, this is
Washington Huskies
upstairs.
group. Back in the second
Rise
inning.
ball, a late bite just above the letter.
Starting
Such a
shortstop.
beautiful location with 2 strikes.
Not out of the woods yet here with Rohde.
Started 12 of the last 13 games. Came off the bench in Game 2.
Rohde this
Against
season
Wisconsin
hitting
as she takes an inside pitch
.389
for
with
ball
runners
2.
in scoring position. Can she
For
deliver
Montana
one more
Grizzly.
big blow for South Carolina?
Was a first-team All-Big Sky selection last year.
1 and 1.
Call up though to make
That's a nice spot for Herron with
transfer to Washington.
a 1-0 count.
She was fantastic.
Backdoor
with the
curve,
Grizzlies.
barely
Scored
clips on
50
the outer
games at
half against
shortstop.
Rhodey. You can't miss Sweet with Rhodey. We saw what happened back in the 5th inning.
Team in practically every
with a missed
single
pitch.
statistical category.
Changed this ball game. It was the 3-run shot from Rhodey that gave South Carolina the lead.
Fisher going to work
And that for a
uses the
team
ground
that
ball.
has
Bragg
only
on
now
the
hit
move
30
and
home
cuts her
runs, the
down on a
least in the
6-3
SEC.
Put out. So Fisher
2-2 on Rhodey after the big
half
cut.
of the bottom of the 3rd and produces the same result at the top of the 5th.
Pitch of the game right
It's
here.
remarkable. I mean, I would argue it's certainly among the biggest, if not the biggest day since the launch of this network.
Got her! Robin Herron strikes out 2 in the 6th. Tomorrow night, rather Monday night, tomorrow actually, that Oklahoma-Alabama series also right here on SEC Network, 6 Eastern, 5 Central.
Sends one high into
And then
right.
Monday night, 7 Eastern, mic'd up
Flores
Monday.
for the second quick
Arkansas starts it off with Carly Davison trailing by a run, but with all the momentum behind them after stranding the bases loaded in the 6th without anything coming across.
I made that comparison the first
Davison,
time.
Miller, and Johnson, the ones do
That
8,
doesn't
9,
sound
and
like
1
me.
in the lineup for Courtney Deifel.
I do think that Caitlin Terry's super athletic.
Over to third.
And
There's
she'll have
Chansey.
time
That's
to
a big first out there for South Carolina.
He does some things that are just remarkable. I couldn't do that. So
Davison struggles
think I
continue
went
in this
7-2.
series. Now,
no,
0 for
I
6.
think you know where I was homegrown and you know what team I reside to. So
Oh, we're going to do this again, huh?
no, I know you know me in that aspect, so I could see why you would
Sorry.
think that. But
Fernando Tatis Jr. is
Back
not
to
a
the
lefty
importance
hitter,
of
just
Kennedy
not-
Miller,
Or
who's
a
about
lefty
to
the
step
right
in.
comparison.
yeah, so
Actually, it looks like we may have a pinch hitter here for
Yeah.
Kennedy Miller.
Carly Ratcliffe is going to come in and pinch hit for Miller.
Savannah Pola. Third at bat for her, staring at a 1-2 count.
This is an
Uno has
important
battled
part of
back
this
well since
lineup.
the first.
In the
Sails it
9-hole,
upstairs, ball 2.
Kennedy Miller has done a great job in the 9-hole. We saw her single back in the 2nd to roll this order back up to Reagan Johnson, and the same task is here for Ratcliffe. The speedster Johnson is who stands on
This was
deck.
outside and a full count.
And then
It's a
you're to the
savvy
meat of this
2 for
order,
2
which we have
tonight.
talked about. Reagan Kramer, Bree Ellis,
Enjoyed the celebratory
McDowell
jog
in the
home.
4-hole.
Megan
This
Grant
is the dangerous part of
pushed her
Arkansas's
across.
offense.
Just the 15th at bat of this season. Here for Ratcliffe,
Got her to pop up
and
in the
she
infield
jams it
again.
into center for a
Alvarez
base hit.
Holds on, just on the fringe of the circle. So Ramuno.
Courtney Deifel knows
has
how to
been
pull these
really
strings.
impressive,
Back to
has
the top of the
retired
order we
last
go.
8 UCLA
Well, when Miller
batters.
set the table back in the 2nd, she came around to score. Now Will Ratcliffe. She finds her way on and now turns this lineup over to the top for Reagan Johnson. You can hear it, you can feel it. Momentum starting to brew for the Razorbacks.
Job certainly done by Ratcliffe, and now Ava Carter is going to come in and pinch run. Carter has not attempted a stolen base all year long. We are back to the top of the order now. Reagan Johnson, who has a couple of infield singles and just
team
absolutely
qualifying for
wreaked
the NCAA
havoc on the base
championships.
paths.
Just secured it.
Though she
finishing
was caught
second
for
at
just the
NCAA
second time
regionals
trying to
in
steal
Salt Lake
second
City,
base
Utah. The
earlier
grad
in this
student,
game by Lexi
Chase
Winters.
Campbell crushed the floor exercises. We
Check
saw
it out.
Emily Lee from
Got
UCLA,
the
but
extra
Mary
infielder
McDonough
pulled in.
qualifying
They
individually.
definitely don't think
for
she's
the
going to right field.
all-around exercises.
So it is Lelio
Yeah.
playing
be
where second
fun.
base would be.
Championships taking
So they
place
pulled
next
in
weekend
center
at Dickies
field,
Arena
now
in
only
Fort
having
Worth,
2
Texas.
outfielders and an extra body on the dirt. That is the threat of Johnson. That is the threat of her
LSU is
speed.
also going to be there, the defending national
Flied out
champions.
towards left field. This is easy for Vincent.
We have Jordan
Making
Charles
South
on
Carolina
the team.
defense look genius right there. Hits right in
There are a lot of good Jordans.
to that shift.
UCLA.
I mean, how juicy does right field look for you there?
UCLA
This is me. I'm
teams.
literally just flipping my bat out because if
anything
it
you
gets
can.
if it gets past the
Westwood onto
infield,
fifth.
Run for days.
it's not
Fisher.
even close. You could probably get 2 inside the park home runs. All right, Reagan
on
Kramer
a
now.
pinch hitter
That leadoff, rather one-out
for
single
the
still
Huskies,
stranded on
Gabby
first
Toney.
base for the moment. And there's strike one
Heralded
to
freshman
Kramer.
out of Bothell, Washington takes a
Well,
strike.
you have to know if you're Johnson where you're likely going to be thrown. They're not
Lupke
going to
was
give you
struck out
anything on
in
the inside
second.
part of the plate.
Short leash
They're not
for
going to
her.
give you anything that's going to allow you to pull the ball to that side of the field.
To center, and dunks in.
30th appearance.
All right, what do you do?
I'm glad I don't have to make that decision.
Me too.
Let's put it that way.
Against Wisconsin.
I will say, when we had a chance to talk to Coach Chastain Woodard
Lineup
coming
takes a
into this
change up
weekend,
that just
we asked her the question,
outside.
what is it going to take to prep for an Arkansas team? And you know her first answer? We're not going to let Bri Ellis beat us.
She has a fielder's choice and 2 walks.
Fisher strikes her out, and
Will
a
this
2-3
end
put
up
out
being a senior
for
night
extra
to remember
assurance.
here for Ellis? First, Ashley is going to talk things over with her infield.
Third punch out of the night.
Arkansas just 1 for 9 with runners
Addison
in
Fisher.
scoring position
That
tonight.
nasty drop ball
So,
inside.
if you do pitch around Bri Ellis, where I don't think anybody in this ballpark would fault South Carolina for
course
doing
not.
so, then you're dealing with one of the best freshmen in
Yeah.
the country in Ella McDowell. That is why having someone in the cleanup spot behind her that can produce on a regular basis is going to make or break Arkansas' season.
Furthermore, we saw it in game 1. Ella McDowell came up with the bases juiced last night and had a base clearing double to take the lead. From then on, it was all Arkansas. They ended up ending the game early with a run rule victory in inning 6.
I still think as good as McDowell has
Yeah.
been, she's got to be one to beat.
You gotta make the freshman beat you. You can't give it to Bri Ellis. I completely agree. A 20 home run season so far for this senior. It's her season. It's her senior night tonight.
11,200 miles over the first 5 weeks. As Carroll lifts one, and it's just going to escape the glove of Clements into center.
Well, Sam Gress has all the
Lead
experience he could ever
stand-up
want in
double
the circle,
play.
and is going to be
In the 5th.
very careful here with Arkansas's star.
That's an off-speed pitch that gets her on the inside corner. That's a very competitive pitch location for Sam Gress.
She had a good beat on the ball. She was running for it. It seemed like
Ellis seemed to be looking for something
She
a
would've
little
dove
harder,
a
got out in
second
front of
earlier,
it, and just
she
had to hold back, foul it off. Now what do you do here on 1-1?
Up to Boer.
Gress is such a competitor. You can hear her talking to her teammates. You could read the lips there. Make this play. Make this play.
367.
There's another off speed that she got out in front of.
There's ice in the veins of Sam Gress right now. They're going after her.
They are.
They're
Very
going
much
after
so.
her. This is the head captain of South Carolina that is in the circle attacking one of the best bats in our game right now.
What she does.
Protecting a 1-run lead here with 2 outs and the tying run on second base. 1-2 to Ellis. To
Later
third,
swings.
under the
Got a
glove
little
of
bit better.
Chansey, everyone's safe.
Ball behind
Should have been
1-2.
out number 3. Instead, it's the 3rd error of the game for the Gamecocks.
The best freshman in the Big Ten leagues. The conference.
I mean, this is the best defense in the nation, and it's the 3rd error
Eyes.
just tonight. That
He's
out
off 2-2.
had to be made.
I didn't have that one on my bingo card either.
That out
3
had
errors
to
in
be
one game
made.
for them. Oh, there's no doubt. And even
Excited
there,
about what
Chansey
they
could just
would've
step
put
on
in
third.
freshman
Didn't even have to
campaign.
make a throw.
At times you just look
And
at
now
your
here is
freshmen, you just
McDowell,
come
who
in
comes
knowing
up with the
first year,
bases
you
loaded.
don't really know what they're getting into, but with the freshmen
Into
that we've
right
seen
field, and
both
there
teams,
is Knight.
We've really been able to produce and be really big heartbeats. for both
South
of these
Carolina
teams. You don't normally see all the
escapes,
time.
breathing a sigh of relief. Saturday evening, it has been quite a ball game. The difference so far is the 5th inning 3-run homer off the bat of Carolina's Ariana Rhodey, and that's it.
DeBoer is one of those freshmen where she could start.
We have not seen
potentially on
any
this
scoring
UCLA
since.
lineup if you were to flip the jersey, so it just goes to show you.
Lexi Winters leads off for the
how
Gamecocks.
good
They got the middle of
she
the
has
order now,
been.
4,
They've
5,
relied on
6,
her
trying to
offense
add on to
throughout
that
the
1-run
entire
lead.
season. That's the main
Arkansas
difference
2-1
between
in
these two teams.
one-run
UCLA
games
has
this
a
year.
couple more elder
Gamecocks
statesmen
5-5,
a
even.
little bit more experienced in the batter's box.
Snared by Heron.
DeBoer has been
As
carrying
cool as
the
you
day.
like.
It just misses inside for a full count.
So much control from Heron in the circle, both in her pace of play, her rhythm, but also the way that she fields her position. There is no panic.
At that.
There's a calm, cool nature about
Able
this
to
arm.
lace one and drops
One out
it
for
into left
Chancey.
center. It will cut off.
Arkansas is going to
David
have
Carroll
Day
at
Wyckoff
third,
and
as Clemens
Riho
got to
do up.
throw in quickly.
But the
the
key
first time
for
tonight,
South
the
Carolina
Huskies
is
have a
they
runner 60 feet
successfully
away.
navigated the top 4 in the order.
Bingo.
You see Jordan and Megan laughing.
And
there.
I would
There was
think
two
that
cuts in the same position.
Ashley
That was so
Chastain
funny.
Woodard, the head coach for South Carolina,
Great piece of hitting
is
there.
going to be breathing a real sigh of
didn't work.
relief getting out of that inning,
Didn't do-
especially when
wasn't
Bree
trying to do
Ellis
too
grounds
much
it to
with that
third.
pitch.
And
with the
you
error.
think that Chancey is just going to step on third base and
Well-
you're going to go back into the dugout. You got to get a fly out to right field from McDowell.
You and I said it
Those
most
two
of the
share
time.
a different bond.
What feels like
really good
90% of the
really
time,
good bond. And it was
those
fitting that
errors in
Jordan
that
was
moment,
right
they
in
come
front
back
of
and they get you.
Grant,
We've watched
considering
enough
their
ball that like
lineup in the batting
South
order.
Carolina making 3 errors and still leading Arkansas
Heather
is
Tarr.
not the
It's
norm.
an anomaly.
Yes. But the game's not over by any means.
Bringing a pinch runner.
That'll find the outside
First.
corner.
Well, we saw what
Correct.
Arkansas did last night. They trailed 2-1 coming into the 5th, and then they end up ending this game early.
Sure pours in a strike to Jaden Glab. 1 for 2 with a base knock in the first.
Just missed there on 2 and 2.
So that pitch count climbing up for
Not by
Fisher.
much.
You hear the crowd.
Season high.
We also saw the
109
smile
pitches
from
in their last
Heron.
Full start.
I don't
game
know
three
where it
against
missed.
Maryland.
Maybe a tad high.
Little upstairs, maybe. Reached for it and poked out to center field. A 1-out single for Chancey, her first hit of the evening after starting 0 for
Takes
3.
it in the dirt for ball 1.
You know, and I think we also have to give some kudos to what Sam Gress has done coming into this game after
the first
last
Iowa
night,
play softball
you know,
at
really not
Washington.
pitching the way that she
On the
wanted to,
1-2.
and certainly
And it
not
runs inside,
the way
2
that
balls, 2 strikes.
she is capable of pitching.
Top 10 high school.
Well, you could
I'm sure that
see
was difficult for her
recruits.
too. I mean, you give up 5 runs in 2 2/3 in relief when your team is in the lead, end up getting run ruled. That's never easy.
And I got a piece of her leg.
You saw how well she
Now
frustrated
it's a
Bree
little
Ellis
bit
with the
dangerous here.
changeup.
You load up the bases for Alicia Flores, and again,
Her defense
Fisher
behind her didn't end up capturing that out. She did
smiling
get
it
out of
off
the
a
inning,
bit.
but it was a really good
This is
good
the
matchup
loudest
for her.
the
Great
Washington
effort in the
faithful
circle
have
against the
been
hottest bat right now in our sport.
at Easton Stadium.
1-1 is up the middle. Heron
see
lets
the
it go.
opportunity
Rio
ahead of them.
second. Davison to
Could
first.
make it a
Not
very
in
close ball
time.
game if they're-
I think
Uses
you and
the
I
ground
both have the
ball,
same
Fisher
thing
to
at
home.
I
home.
They
was just
record
going to
the
say,
first out
I
on
think
the
if
force
Rio
play.
takes that ball herself, she already had the momentum up the center
Trade
of the
places
field.
with
If she can keep the body in motion, field, tag,
Flores
and
and
throw,
Carroll,
I
who
think that
is
play is
sent
made.
home. But DeBoer,
I mean, it was so close
moves
as
up
it was
the
with the flip to
conveyor
Davis.
The
belt to
flip is what
third.
delayed
Right.
the play at
They got a
first.
couple of pinch runners in there.
We're getting picky, aren't we?
I don't think so because they're out of the inning.
feel like
Exactly.
Alicia
at
Gets
that
them back in
point.
the
Greg is
dugout.
Yeah.
after coming into pinch run for DeBoer.
You're okay. Alicia Flores.
That one
really
is driven
let
to left
Addison
field,
Fisher off
but
the hook there.
Kramer's going to camp underneath it just in front of the
So look at the
trail.
first pitch. There was a lot
South
of
Carolina
drama.
does
She had
not
just hit
add,
a
and the
batter,
last
trying
chance
to go
coming
to
up.
much
What's added to that success this
For me, I didn't
season, a
compete
transfer
for
from
record.
Texas.
I never put limits to what I could do.
12
I
home
got
runs
out
on the
there
year, but
and
has
I
struggled
tried
with
to
a bit of a
maximize my
leg
best
injury, has
performance. I
been
left my all
spotty
on the track.
through the past few weeks due to
I
a
always
knee
wanted to
issue,
break
just some
barriers when
mobility,
you said
struggling to
something
put
to
weight on that front
And
leg,
so that was the beginning.
but came in clutch
wanting to
yesterday, a
go
1
back
for
into the
3
championship
outing.
East St. Louis, as I never put limits on myself.
She singled
I don't want our
to meet
students
Sam
put
Gress
limits on the things
in
that they
this
can do.
game to start off
You know, they
her
all
night.
might not be Olympic
Now down to the
champions,
count 0-2.
but they all will have
O'Day
the DNA
second on the
to
team
work
in
hard
both
in
home
life,
runs
whatever
and runs driven in.
avenue
She's
it
got a
is.
dozen bombs,
I'm
48
definitely gonna curse you.
RBIs, an
World's
OPS
greatest
of
female athlete, and a graduate of
1.240, which is really high. It's not Bree
Younger
Ellis levels,
generation
but
of
nobody
fans
is.
getting in on the dance song.
1.2 is really good.
That was prime 12-13. Music.
And we are finished back to the SEC
Just
studios
over
for a very special edition of SEC Now.
Across on the other side of the cemetery.
Getting you
baseball
caught up on everything from the softball and baseball diamonds today.
Played between UCLA and
Do
Washington.
another one,
at Jackie
too.
Robinson Stadium.
You got to
Tied
imagine
up
we are going to see some type of off-speed here with a 1-2 count against Courtney Day.
In baseball
That same
as
off-speed
well.
pitch was so effective against
Team's
Bree Ellis.
experiencing a lot of
Just
success
last
as
inning.
Jordan Woolery begins the 5th inning for UCLA. She struggled against Ohio State in terms of hitting. They didn't rely on her as much. Did draw several walks.
Up the middle, little squibber to Shelton, makes the
Wasn't
play.
as depended on.
One out here in the 7th.
for offensive
Tomorrow, the
production,
Rally
which
Cap
is
crew is
typically
breaking down the SEC baseball and softball weekend with highlights, analysis, and interviews. Also, getting you set up for the upcoming week with a look at the best series matchups. Coverage begins 8 Eastern right here on the SEC Network and on the ESPN app.
She does such a good job of applying so much pressure.
Kaylee
on
Wyckoff
opposing
now
pitchers
with
to have
one
to
out and nobody
hit
on.
their
The tying
spots.
run at the plate for the Hogs.
Although she doesn't, like you said, in
Sam
those
Gress
moments
trying to
doesn't get the
finish
hit
this
that'll
game
win
off.
the game or that big
Has
explosive
already
home run.
thrown
She does
2
pose such a
innings.
threat just with the amount of
Coming in
RBIs
and getting
she's
2
able
in the
to
5th.
produce
Worked to
in that
scoreless
3 spot.
6th,
She's
stranding the
always
bases
able
loaded.
to bring in her table setters, Savvy Pola and Just Clements, and she's always found a way to produce those runs. And sometimes that's even more
This
of
one's
a
driven out
silent
towards left
threat
field.
rather than
Vinson
just
to
a
her
jarring
left.
home run that
2
you see,
away,
which she's
Arkansas
also
down
able
to its final
produce,
out.
But in that 3 spot, she's just able to have
You
consistency.
got to give credit here, despite some of the defensive
And
miscues, a
also
very
complements
uncharacteristic
Peggy Grant
outing
very well,
for
with
South
2 swings
Carolina
that are very
defense,
different,
and
but
they have
hard to pitch
held
around the both of them.
a 1-run lead.
Last 3 in a row retired by Gress.
Glasso, 15
And
season
Natalia
as the
Rijo
pitching
is
coach, also
the
an assistant
final
coach.
chance now for Arkansas to keep this game
US
alive.
National team. Heather Tarr is the head coach of the U.S. Women's National Team.
Well, this series has lived up to its billing, and no matter what happens, tomorrow it's going to be absolutely electric. South Carolina hoping they're going to have a chance to potentially win their 4th straight SEC
Sowing,
series.
Sitting right next
That
to
would be
Heather
a
Tarr,
massive
those two
statement
having
to
a
the
word.
softball world. Arkansas
some
down
great
to its
softball
final
players, a lot of
strike of
softball
the
IQ.
night.
Jen Salling is one of the best in the business when it comes to mentality of hitting. She has so many great nuggets for hitters to learn, and she was one of the best to be able to swing the bat for the Canadian national team and did an amazing job in her uniform in her collegiate time, and just a really great duo to lead this Washington team, but great on their own, in their own softball
Sam
career.
Gress has been so good coming in clutch to close the door.
Woolery slices one into right.
You and I talked about it,
Flores
probably some frustration
really
in what
has
she
to
saw
move
out of
to
her
make the first
performance
catch, and to
yesterday,
your
and has a
point,
chance to right a wrong
2
tonight here in
times
game
where
2.
Salling competed on the Olympic stage.
Over to short, Blankenship
Teammates
charges
with
off
Noah
balance
Lowry,
in time.
Pac-10
South
defensive
Carolina
player
wins it
Washington,
5-4 on the
Grant.
3-run home run by
Back up for the
Rhodey
third
to
at
even up
bat.
this series and nab their first win in
And the lefty
Fayetteville
goes
since
after the first ball,
2019.
Sails it back and foul. Coach Anoy Perez.
And we will have a
been
rubber
so
game